Just waiting on the cable to kick in. There it is. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Plastow Planning Board meeting on December 20th, 2023. With that, we'll do a roll call.
Sure. Tom Alberti.
Here.
Karen Robinson.
Here.
Laura Millettis excused.
Excused, yep.
Chuck Fowler.
Here.
Richard Anthony.
Here.
Tim Moore.
Here.
Bill Coy.
Here.
And Victoria Healy.
All right. With Lori's absence this evening, we can pull up from the minors a alternate. So I'm not sure where we're at. Richard, you want to jump in this evening?
Sure.
Voting member. So with that, we'll appoint Richard a voting member, and we'll do a minutes review. Any question on the minutes? Any adjustments? We were all present at the last meeting, right?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Bill makes a motion to approve the minutes. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Chuck seconds. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion passes 5-0-0. All right. And with that, we will move to the public hearing. First is PB 23-13. This is continued from November 15th, 2023. The completeness of an application from Lewis Builders Development, Inc. In attention, Josh Manning, for a two-lot subdivision. The plan proposes to subdivide the parcel at 17 Harriman Road, tax map 50, lot 78, said to be 2,143,873 square feet, 49.2 acres of land area, and 315.27 feet of frontage on Harriman Road, into two parcels. Parcel 1 proposed to be 137,857 square feet, 3.16 acres of land area, and 157.7 of frontage on Harriman Road. Parcel 2 proposed to be 2,006,000 and 2,006,800. Yeah, that's good math on my part. 46.5 acres of land area, 157.6 feet of frontage on Harriman Road. Property on record is Gerald E. Holt Revocable Trust. UDT, November 9th, 2022, Gerald E. Holt TR. If the application is found to be complete, which we did already consider it to be complete, is that correct? I did not chair the last hearing on this.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
the main thing on this one, unless I'm wrong, was the waiver of liability. I think that's what was the holdup, and we waited
Okay.
for that. I think that was the only piece, if I remember.
I'm going to lean
right.
on the board just to, again, I was not at the meeting, so
'Cause it was
I do
really just
recall that
removing the
being.
lot line.
Did have a butter speak.
Right, we did.
We did have a butter
And-
speak, and it was on the easement that went to Congressional Ave.
Yep.
Right, but I think what's before us now, it's moving the lot line, right? And I think that's all it is here.
Yeah, I know the history on this, right? And we kind of pushed it back to properly notice the abutters, properly go through the ZBA process again with abutter notifications on that front. All that was sort of redone, and now it's back to us. From a planning board perspective, besides the waiver liability, were there any other questions or comments? Just check my notes real quick.
I think it was emphasized also, it was just those two lots, and there wouldn't be any more to be built behind. And that was definitely mentioned.
I'm sorry, what was that, Karen?
That there was not to be any more building than those two buildings and further back in the lots because of wetlands and
At
because.
the current time, that's all that's proposed. That's not an acceptable restriction that we'd be willing to allow to be put on the land moving forward. There's an existing lot of record. Anything that's allowed by your zoning ordinance should be able to be done on that lot of record in the future.
Tom, do we just need to accept it as complete or not complete?
No, it was accepted.
We've
as
already
complete.
accepted it as complete.
Yeah,
at
we
the
already
last
accepted
meeting.
it.
It just was, from my understanding, it was continued because of the waiver of liability.
And that was the only piece that,
Yeah, I'm just
But
gonna,
I just wanted to make sure too on the lots
No.
behind.
this is a challenge, right? Because I see this, right? People attack a parcel of land in pieces, and they, it's almost as if, well, we're not proposing that, so we don't need to talk about it. I get it. I think we got to be cognizant of the bigger picture here, and what the
Right, it's
intentions
just
are.
those 2 lots, period.
So I want to ensure that there's no unforeseen circumstances of just kind of moving forward with this approval.
but this was just to move the lot line at
Yep.
this point. I think that's all that's in front of us right now.
That is,
It's just the lot line.
I think the understanding is that there, there's publicly been recorded as intentions with the property, but not in front of us.
I just didn't know whether that could be included on the plan or not, but that's up to a vote.
All right, any other comments, questions, concerns, anything else from board members? Victoria, you got anything? Tim, you see anything that says needs attention?
They have the liability and the sight line, which seems to be okay.
All right, this is a continuation of the public hearing. Is there any members of the public that would like to speak in any capacity, or do the applicants wish to speak any further on this request?
No, I was just going to update the board on, since we were last here, I think you already have it in your packet, that site line easement's been recorded, as well as the driveway waiver. It's all been recorded now, so.
Okay. All right, no other comments? Would the board like to consider making a motion on the application, excuse me, not the application.
Yeah, I can do it. I move to approve the 2-lot subdivision of 17 Harriman Road, tax map 50, lot 78, and as described in the legal notice for PB matter number 23-13 with the following conditions. Favorable final legal review of the site distance easement by Attorney Cleary. All items noted in the staff checklist review are updated on the final plan set for recording, and a response letter from the applicant is received for the file. Notes for the waivers that were granted on November 16th, 2023 are added to the plan by citation and date approved. Recording information for limited waiver of municipal liability noted on final plan. All required professional stamps are on recording plan. Site distance plan is noted in the Plastow Zoning Board of Adjustment Notice of Decision is included as a recording sheet of the final plan set. Recorded easement be noted on the final plan by book and page. Conditions of this approval shall be met, and all recording materials as well will be outlined in the notice of decision to be submitted to the planning department within 90 days of the date of the board's conditional approval. If conditions cannot be met within 90 days, the applicant shall submit a request to reopen the public hearing, including a butter notification for consideration of an extension of the 90 days. The request to reopen the public hearing must be received so that the notice can be made prior to the expiration of the 90 days.
Do I have a second on the motion?
I'll second.
Chuck seconds. Any discussion on the motion? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion passes 5-0-0. Just additional information, we're going to note the below information for the record. Does not need to be part of the formal motion of approval, but I want to put it on the record for the minutes. Town of Plastow driveway permit. Prior to the issuance of a building permit for a structure on the property, a Town of Plastow driveway permit will be required. Impact fees. A 2-lot subdivision without a new road is not subject to any impact fees. However, any residential dwelling constructed on the resultant parcel will be assessed impact fees at the time of building permit application. LCHIP fee at recording and plan. The subdivision plan is subject to LCHIP fees assessed by the Rockingham County Registry of Deeds. Information regarding payment of that fee will be included in any notice of decision. And lastly, submission of recording materials. This information will also be included in the notice of decision. We're all set.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
All right. that, we will move to PB 23-14, completeness of an application from Noria Energy Retail for an amended site plan. Plan proposes a 340 square foot addition to an existing building and the shifting of the existing drive-through lane approximately 8 feet south. The property is located at 119 Plastow Road, tax map 29, lot 59 in the C1 zoning district. Property owner of record is Noria Energy New Hampshire Realty LLC. If the application is found to be complete, the planning board may immediately conduct a public hearing. And with that, if you want to introduce yourselves, state your names clearly, speak to the wait, we have to determine if we want to accept the application. Is that correct? Sorry, jumped the gun on that. All right. From the board, any questions about the application's completeness? Any concerns?
The usual, the landscaping, number one.
Got to accept the application
Yeah,
first,
I
right?
think we can talk about that
Have to accept it first.
either as part of the public hearing of the application itself, not necessarily about the completeness of the application. Anybody want to make a motion to accept the application?
I move to accept the application for Noria Energy Retail for an amended site plan that proposes a 336 square foot addition to the existing building and the relocation of a drive-through 8 feet south from the property located on 119 Plastow Road, and as noted in the legal notice for application PB 23-14 as complete.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Chuck seconds. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion passes 500. All right, so a couple notes. Planning board, approved retail use is not changing or expanding. What we'll do is we'll let you guys jump in. This is the part that I meant to do now. Speak to what you're looking to do, and then we'll get some information and ask any questions from there.
Sounds good. All right. For the record, my name is Chris York with Greenman Peterson. Michael Durant is with me from Noria Energy. I'll be pretty quick here. So we're proposing a 336 square foot addition to the existing building out there at 119 Plastow Road. Purpose of the addition is for restrooms for employees and for customers. As part of the addition to the building, we're shifting over the existing drive-through about 8 feet to the, what direction is that? To the south.
Yep.
There are 8 or so arborvitae plants that are currently in the area where the addition will go. Those are proposed to be relocated elsewhere on site. There's no grading changes proposed. We're not adding any additional impervious area. We'll be relocating an existing gas meter that's currently on the side of the building now. All of the utilities will be connected within the building itself. That's pretty much the quick and dirty of it. With some notes to existing fencing that's out there will be extended. So some of the utility, the air conditioning units, mechanical units are relocated behind the addition within the fenced-in area. They recently put in some new signage and some drive-through equipment that'll be relocated as well as part of the shifting over of the drive-through lane. Other than that, I can pass it back to the board for any questions and comments you have.
Well, you mentioned something about landscaping?
Yeah, well,
Was it the
originally,
arborvitaes or something else?
originally that building had trees, like everything else that is also along that area, for protection, and it just looked better. All of a sudden, this particular building took down all the trees in the front and planted little bushes.
Oh, that's right.
And then now they're adding this, and you said you're taking out the arborvitaes that are on that one side there?
It will be relocated, yes.
Do you have a,
We will add a location to the plan where they will be shown.
okay.
Again, they have to be relocated because they're in that corner where the building will be going, so they have to be moved.
Tim, I assume, you've been here forever, so I assume you were here with the original plan, right? How many years?
Yeah, I'm sorry, what was the question?
How many years you been with the board?
I don't know,
38?
over 35.
Yeah, so I assume you were involved with the original plan in some capacity. I'm not saying you necessarily remember it.
Do you remember it?
If we're going to
Yeah,
amend the
more or
site
less,
plan
yeah.
where something on the site,
Mm.
the original site plan actually changed from.
I know this was done around the same time that the state was widening 125.
Oh, that's
And
right.
so they worked with the state to make sure that stuff was all compatible, and the traffic light in there. The only thing, just looking at the site plan that was submitted there, it looks like you have just kind of one half of it. The other half has the big drainage area, the diesel pumps.
Yeah.
So we'd be looking for the whole site plan.
I can add, we did not survey the rest of the site. We just surveyed a particular area
Yeah.
where we're working in here. I can show on a plan the lot, the lot overview, showing all the dimensions, the whole lot on a kind of a smaller scale, in the corner of the plan.
Yeah, the problem is when,
Required for the plan being recorded at the registry, they want to see the whole property.
exactly. Yeah.
So,
If that's acceptable, I don't want to send the crew out to survey the whole rest of the site.
but from Tim's standpoint, from a procedural and technical standpoint, there should be the whole site.
Right.
Because it's an amended site plan, even though you're not touching the other aspects of the site, the plan should reference the complete property, correct? Is that what you're saying, Tim?
That would be my opinion.
Yep.
So even though we understand there's no intention to do anything else to that side of the structure, we're not seeing it for that reason, we could probably put that as a note of condition, correct? Site plan is revised to reflect complete property or something along those lines?
Yeah, it seems like we should be able to accommodate something.
Looking to see the topography of the whole site, or just the boundary?
Well, I guess I'm thinking that
Because we didn't,
how do you take a site plan and amend it, but only show half of the site?
Right.
Say, and understanding that this is only the part you're amending, but the site plan in our,
Show the whole thing.
should be the whole picture,
we
right?
can add another plan showing the whole property boundary.
Yeah, I mean.
Without contour, I suppose without contours, because we haven't, last time we surveyed, it looks like, the old car wash building that's no longer there, is still shown on the plan. So it's been several years since our company went out there and surveyed the whole property. They went out specifically just to survey this, the micro topo, basically, this
Yeah.
Have you,
property where the
We
work is
made
being
everybody
done.
else do it.
have you made any other changes to the property? Were there any other trees cut? I guess my only concern is the abutters in this area. Does moving out 8 feet bring any traffic flow or any other impacts to the abutters, especially on the backside?
No, when we show a dimension, we still show 32 feet from the edge of the new drive-through lane to the parking line. It's still plenty wide for cars to get around, fire trucks to get around. We're not touching any pavement out back here. So no changes to any parking movements or any turning movements. We're not touching anything out here on the tree line.
And you're looking to expand the restrooms, are they public currently?
Yes.
Mike Durant with Noria Energy, if I may. The addition is going to be for public restrooms. They're currently public, but they're only single occupant. So we're looking to add multiple occupant restrooms and then increase the kitchen area. That's part of that addition work.
Is the,
Still need to see the whole thing.
what about the impact to the water flows, anything, I know, again, I'm not sure what the impact to the, just because you have a bigger bathroom doesn't necessarily mean you're going to use it double the water usage or anything like that. But in terms of adding to the kitchen facilities, you're looking to do additional things with the kitchen or just sort of modernize it?
It's for more towards modernization. We're not adding fixtures in the kitchen area.
Yep. Oh, I see. Okay, yep. No, I get that. All right, any other questions or comments from the board? Victoria, you got any input?
Got somebody out there might be.
Yeah, we'll get there.
No, if you wanted to talk about showing more of the site,
Yeah.
I don't think that a full survey is necessary. But if you want to show the extent of the property, I think that that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to show it.
Well, wouldn't they require a full site plan anyways? You know, the plans to show the full site as it gets recorded? The state?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Wouldn't an amended site plan require the site plan to reflect the full site, not just a partial portion of it?
Not
Anyways.
necessarily.
In the past, we've done something similar to this in Hampstead, where we were just working on a small portion of the site and didn't locate the whole property, but we
Yeah.
did show the whole boundary on like I said, on the plan that we recorded. We just showed, little blocks at the top of the screen, top of the page, showing the lot dimensions, the lot area, everything that was allowed by the registry. If you want to see the whole property on one full sheet, we can.
No, we lean on Tim. He's got a wealth of knowledge, and if he picks up on things that we don't necessarily pick up on, and if it's a little technical aspect, and it makes sense to either note it or condition it or something like that, or at least clean it up so it doesn't cause any problems for you or us, then we try to just fix it where we can ahead of time. But if you have specific concerns, then we can address it and try to make that plan. We're not necessarily looking for you to survey the land or provide any other
Understood. Appreciated.
activity around that. All right, with that,
Just one question.
yeah,
Just to go back to the question of the trees that used to be located in front of the drainage area again. I understand what was just said, that, there was a widening of the 125 and the traffic lights that might be put in there. But my understanding is that the trees might have been cut down, and it might have been some sort of dialogue with, let's say, the former planner that we had, where someone might have said that it constituted a drainage issue with respect to having trees there, and then it was, can we put in shrubs? And I don't know if there are any shrubs there, and
There's
There
little
are.
bushes.
So
Little bushes.
we did a plan before I started working at DPI. We did a plan back in 2021, a landscape plan that we submitted to the town. That was approved by Ms. Voss. I'm
Cash.
assuming you probably have a
yeah,
copy
but
of this plan, right?
that included trees.
It included
correct.
shrubs. It did not include any new trees. It included new landscaping, shrubs, and
well, that wouldn't have been approved by D. That the board would have approved it.
I don't believe it went to the planning board. It was.
Well, I think that's my point.
Yeah, that's the point.
That
right.
if is that I don't think the board saw anything in the way of, let's say, instead of trees, we're going to have shrubs. Is that okay? So I understand that it might have been an interaction with the planning staff and such, but would be amenable to putting trees back there? I mean, what's the purpose of not having trees there? I mean, that's one of our imperatives that, in terms of
Look
site
nicer
plans
on
and
that
things
road.
like that,
Yep.
having landscaping that kind of softens the image of some of the stuff on 125.
Businesses. Yeah.
If I may.
Yep.
So back in 2021, we did work with staff to address the landscaping issue. We came up with a landscaping plan to enhance the landscaping. Staff did accept that plan. We implemented that plan, and they did put it into record. I'm not sure what happened to the trees. They just didn't survive. I don't know. But that plan was implemented, accepted by staff. We'd have to work with staff in regards to additional landscaping if that's what the board is looking for.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is that if there was, I don't think the board was involved in that, right? And I think if there was going to be some sort of modification to
It should
the
be
landscaping,
added
that
to.
the board should have been involved, right?
Yeah,
I mean, if there was a technical reason, like
again, I'm going to fall back
trees
on
would
Tim and
cause
Victoria.
a problem, then, okay. But I think if it was just a question of we want to do shrubs instead of trees,
The original plan specified trees. Wouldn't any change to that have to come in front of the board?
Not sure exactly how the town of Pasto does that. It doesn't warrant a full site plan review just to change landscaping.
Yeah, but I think it's more along the lines of, does any aspect of a site plan, can any aspect of a site plan get changed by anybody after it's been approved as such, whether it's the landscaping or the septic or anything else, you know what I mean? In this case, it's the trees.
And this has all been rather new in the last few years.
Yeah, this
too,
was
but
at a time.
This is something that
We started saying, hey, what can we do to help with 125? It just kind of doesn't have much appeal. And
Side
we
streets.
pushed landscaping. It was at a time when that was a big emphasis for us and still is. So I think that's why it's come up. Yeah, Tim, do you have any thoughts?
At the bottom of page 3 on the staff report, you'll see a landscaping note that explains what went on.
Landscaping note, yep. Except where waived.
Interesting. I'm sorry, I missed this.
Where's the waiver?
Well, there's no authority.
I think that's my point.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, there is a right, I see what you're looking at, Tim, at the bottom where it says landscaping note.
Yep,
It was, looks like it was done by John Cashel.
right.
So
That's
the
interesting.
waiver
Yeah.
was, a waiver was granted.
That's not,
That's not right. Nope.
all right, so note 19 indicates full compliance with the board's landscaping regulation, except where waived. A waiver has been submitted for the board's consideration for the front landscaping buffer that has changed
Right.
since the reference plan D-29334 was approved. Previous planning director, John Cashel, allowed some replacement landscaping in the front buffer that was not fully compliant with the existing site plan.
Right.
There are also no details on the rest of the site's landscaping would indicate full compliance for the rest of the site if the waiver for the front of the parcel is approved by the board. So there is a waiver, is that correct?
We could ask for a waiver, yes.
So is the waiver to continue to be outside of the existing site plan with regard to the landscaping?
The waiver was asked, it's funny, I didn't see that it was a sentence. I assume I get the same letter from Ms. Voss. There's
Yeah.
a sentence in there missing about the previous town planner. It wasn't in my copy for some reason.
Right.
But
Which is not going to do us
but-
any good right now.
the purpose of the waiver is just because we're not, other than moving the existing arborvitae's to another part of the site, we weren't proposing any changes to the rest of the land.
No, I get it.
Yeah, I get that.
I think maybe just the questions come up as,
Go back to the front.
And I don't
if we're revising the site plan, should we consider the fact that some of the existing site plan doesn't necessarily meet, it isn't necessarily in full compliance with the original site plan?
I'm trying to understand why, so we submitted the plan in 2021, and at the time, Ms. Voss said that this did not require planning board approval. It was at more of an administrative level. So I don't know I don't understand or know why they would. I don't know every town rule.
Was avoided.
But it appeared that the plan that we submitted in 2021 was acceptable after those trees were removed. These new landscaping proposals were acceptable in the town, and then the landscaping on site was, I guess, approved, I guess.
It's that the previous planning director, John Cashel, is the one that did. And he's
I
not here
don't
anymore.
think staff can waive the requirements, can they?
No.
I mean, I think that's the question, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, no, as I was saying earlier to Victoria, is it trees on this plan? Is it something else on a different plan, right? What's okay to kind of, just go against the compliance of the plan or change?
Well, we've come up with this before in the planning board rules and regulations. Planning staff does hold the ability to not bring any plan to the planning board if they seem that it doesn't need to. And we did talk about changing that. But that's not the applicant's fault. Would you be amenable to increasing landscaping to become compliant with current regulations?
We could work with staff. I'm not sure how compliant we could get.
The staff is no longer here that you
When you
worked
say
with.
staff, you're talking about
New
Lasso staff?
Probably current.
Because we want you to work with us, right? Who are going to either approve or
That was
disapprove
wrong
the
to
plan.
begin with.
What would you be looking for, I guess?
That's my question, right?
Yeah,
The original
improvement,
landscaping,
That's all, improvement.
so originally there were trees, the trees were taken down, little shrubs were put in place. Could you go back to putting trees back in?
I don't think we could get back to whatever the original plan was. That's probably why the plan that was worked with staff in 2021 was developed and, as far as we understood, accepted.
Was there a discernible reason? Do you recall, or is there a specific?
That I'm not sure of.
On that note, we do have some other additional people here, so in case there's anybody from the public, I do want to allow for public comment. Is anybody from the public here to speak in any capacity? Yeah, we'll put you in the spotlight. We get you a badge.
Even though your voice carries.
Please state your name and your address.
Wendy Mobley, 13 Old Road, Plastown, New Hampshire.
Thank you.
So I'm in a butter. I just want to know, you're going, like, where they just put that new place you're supposed to talk into for Dunkin' Donuts? You're going out that way?
Yes.
How many feet out?
Approximately 8 feet.
So you're going to take away from the parking lot? So how much
No,
between the
no,
end of the
no.
building and the end of the parking spaces?
So-
Like where the words are, see the dark words?
Yes.
How much space is there from the side of the drive-through?
I think he said.
Oh, yeah.
Was it 32
It's
feet?
32 feet from where the edge of the drive-through will be to the back of those parking spaces. Nothing, no.
Was there landscaping there in the back? No.
Not really.
There
I
was.
mean, when they redid it, they took away where like those big rocks are and there's a big gully, but Unitil just recently have taken down trees, not on my property, well, they did on my property, but it doesn't affect them. But on the property next to us, they took down a bunch of trees, so they're a little more open.
Okay.
I mean, they might not.
But that was Unitil that did that?
Unitil did that.
Unitil.
Yeah, but the same-
And I know the property
Totally.
owner that's next to them would love to have those big pine trees taken down. Because eventually they're gonna get tall enough and they're gonna,
Next to us.
yes, next to you
Yeah, they
guys.
took down a couple.
They took
of them.
down a couple, but there's still a couple big pine trees. One of them, a big limb came off last year and broke the fence and everything else that's along that back line.
We have pine trees that are on our that aren't on our property. They're on Honoria's
Right.
property, and they it's the same thing. We've
Yeah.
lost our fences before, and
Right.
they're huge pine trees.
Yeah.
Like, and I get that you want a buffer, which those skinny little trees that finally grew up is a
Yeah.
great buffer.
Yeah.
You know, and some of your smaller maple ones with leaves, but those pine trees are they're
Those
awful,
pine trees
and
are awful and, they could fall into the houses and whatever.
they ruin a lot of our stuff in our backyard for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't get to keep this. Oh, I just want.
All right. So thank you for informing them. It sounds like
Right.
there's a I think there's some gravel or curbing or something, and you're
They
just
said
kind
they
of
weren't
coming
gonna
out to
touch the
that
parking
almost,
lot.
right? Like you're just coming further from the building. Right now, I think where the building ends, there's some gravel or whatnot.
Yeah, it's
and
decorative
drive-through
stones.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just sounds like that end of the building.
Yeah.
It's out 8 feet.
Yep.
And everything adjusts 8 feet. Is that basically it in a nutshell?
The building's coming out 16 feet from where it is now.
So come out 16
then-
feet.
Then there'll be basically there's like the vegetated island between the edge of the building
Yep.
and the drive-through lane now.
Correct.
It's just gonna shift over the same distance, so for the new drive-through lane.
All right.
Cool.
And
Where that drive-through lane is, you're still gonna have 32 feet.
And we still have 32 feet to the back of those parking spaces.
and that was vetted for deliveries and fuel trucks and
Yeah.
safety.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Victoria, did you have something you want to?
I figured out historical Google Maps, and there's a street view image from 2018.
Yeah.
And there are some bigger bushes and few additional trees.
Yeah. So the board did make an emphasis going back 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago to really try to do whatever we could as more and more businesses were going in on 125 to make it look better, right? Because it was a mishmash of random stuff. And did someone say something? What? Just came
There-
out, didn't it? So then, I think what Richard's getting at is there were trees, they look nicer than what's there. That's on the original site plan. The board didn't necessarily approve that variation or change.
No.
Some of that question about applicability, whether or not staff has the authority to allow for a change in a site plan or some aspects and changes of a site plan. So I guess what we're asking is, would you also be amenable to going back to the original site plan, which allowed for trees versus these little shrubs?
Right.
I think it's a big ask either. I think it would help beautify the property. But if you have a justifiable reason why trees can't be maintained there, then I'm curious to hear that.
So I'd like to say that typically when trees are placed near a roadway, they're difficult to maintain. A lot of times they don't last. Road salts, damage, whatever may happen, they don't last. More vegetation inboard of the site has a better chance of lasting. If the board is looking to have us go back to whatever the original site plan was, which I'm gonna guess, I suspect that when the site was originally developed and approved, it was prior to Noria owning the site, so I'm not sure exactly what it looked like.
When did Noria acquire the site?
I'd have to look that up.
Just the last couple of years though, or?
Last couple of years, the last couple of years.
Yeah,
Couple of
okay.
years.
All right, so yeah, so you kind of acquired it as is, I get it.
Yep.
Tim, what are your thoughts? Like, do you get where our concerns are? It's not
Storage to it.
there's more.
In the package, there's a reference plan.
Missed that.
This
Thank you
is
for pointing that out.
the one that he was mentioning in 2001.
What page is showing the trees? Landscaping?
I don't see the legend.
I didn't see it.
So there are some landscaping features between the parking lot and the road.
What page is this?
I don't know if those were trees or shrubs.
What he's looking at.
Oh,
But as you mentioned, it's quite possible that the trees didn't
Okay.
survive for all those reasons.
It's on that.
Whatever. So, I don't have any problem with
I
shrubs
see.
myself.
Yeah, this one,
It's up to the
overall
board.
proposed plan.
Yeah,
Okay.
just to point out that, we do have along 125, there are any number of businesses that, do have trees and things like
Right
that.
along
In
the
fact,
road.
that's, what we kind of insist on.
Storage companies. That's one.
So, and they survive and it looks
Very nice.
It's aesthetically pleasing and, so I just don't, that corner, it could be a little more beautified, let me put it that way.
Is it possible to work with the board on further enhancement of a landscape plan?
Yeah, that's what
Sure.
it'll be with.
Can
Yeah,
we
I-
work through staff with the board on that?
Yep.
Yeah, I think it was just that
Altogether.
we didn't see it. There were trees there. There are not trees there. The theme of having like some various type of shrubberies and things like that. It's not exactly consistent with the look that we were trying to develop. So that if that was what you were going to do with staff, then that, I don't see any problem with that. Just so that it's consistent thematically with what we're looking for on 125.
Again, right now, I don't think we could get back to exactly what was there previously. Again, and I don't know exactly what was there previously. But if we could work with the board and staff to further enhance the landscaping plan, I think we could be agreeable to that.
All the new buildings that came in, for instance, that storage center there, there was nothing. There was nothing there at all. That big, huge storage center that we have down here. And they've tried very hard, and it's not huge, but they've really grown, and it really does look nice. So they know what type of stuff they had to plant that will survive along a road like 125. And they just did a little, but it's enough to make it look pleasing than that storage center. That was a very nice way of covering it. And we had asked them to do that, and they did it. So this is really, this has got nothing to do with 21. That's the trouble. See, now this is the new process that we're trying to make all the buildings, coincide together and make it look like a nice 125 instead of a alley. I guess is what we're trying to do. So that's just recent. So you're right. We would be glad to work with you. No, we don't expect huge
So with
things
that-
already grown.
With that in mind, again, I'll follow on the experience of Tim and Victoria. Would you recommend that we continue things until we work that through, or could it be a condition of approval?
Condition, maybe. So we could pass this.
Yes.
So the trees that were there before, that got taken out, those were like the big full trees, like those, right? They weren't like maple trees or
Right.
trees with stems, because the ones in front of the storage unit are.
They're maples, I
Oh, they
think.
were maple. Oh,
Yeah.
You're right. I forget.
Yeah.
Okay, I like those trees.
Yeah.
I was thinking, I was gonna say that they were.
Didn't they
I
do a
thought
good
they were
job?
the,
Yeah. Those were
The
maples.
like the ones on the back.
Could put some big pines in there. Is that what you're recommending?
No, I don't want any pines.
No pines, no pines.
But the arborvitaes that we need to move, we could certainly
Yeah, could use
put
them too.
them
Yeah.
them.
or out in the
Yes.
front.
Yeah, I mean, we want to be cognizant of sightlines,
Yeah,
right?
right.
I mean,
Where-
then maybe that's a solution. That's where you put your arborvitaes.
Yeah.
Just.
Because you gotta put them somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Put them somewhere where they can be seen,
Yeah, so
enjoyed.
maybe if you move those out
Arborvitaes are
there.
more of a hider than a presenter, right? Type of tree, though.
So they can get as tall as 40 to 60 feet and spread 10 to 15 feet fully
you-
when matured.
So if you
Yeah, the
just,
whole
if you just
backyard.
spread them out, right?
But I
Right,
mean,
use
usually
them.
they don't come out to be beautified. Usually they're put someplace to hide something else.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
But you still see the building,
Yeah.
they're very nice.
People don't put
They're
arborvitaes out front. They put them in the back.
Right, they do them both places.
But
Yeah, I mean,
Just to work
landscaping
something
is
out like
a
that.
matter of opinion. I would feel more comfortable with a continuation with specifics on the landscape plan.
Yep.
Because I believe a condition it wouldn't be solid enough.
Yeah.
Oh, a condition to talk to planning board, to then come up with an idea.
Okay,
I think-
Like, I wouldn't know how to word it where I would feel comfortable.
I think the intention of the plan was for the beautification of the town.
Right.
It was an emphasis at the time and still is. There were some changes that probably weren't properly authorized to be done. But now that there's an amended site plan, I think we just want to do it right, kind of fix what we think should have been fixed in the first place. And it'll benefit the town, but I also think it'll benefit the business, to be honest. So I'd be comfortable continuing the hearing and seeing if you can present some, it doesn't even need to be major, right? It's just a little bit more of a revised landscaping plan that's compliant with the original plan.
Just again, just want to reemphasize that I don't think we'd be able to get back to whatever the previous approved plan in full compliance with that, but some sort of modified, enhanced landscaping plan.
Yeah, I think something that's in the spirit of the original plan, right? There's some flexibility with landscaping. Doesn't say it has to be X amount of feet and that this, it's not like a building where it has to be this, this, and this. But the spirit wasn't a shrub, the spirit was a tree. So whatever something that is within that classification, I think the staff would be reasonable and the board would be amenable to as well. So, anything else from the board? All right, with that, I'm going to recommend a continuation. So do we do an official motion?
So it's really what the board feels. It's really, you're okay with the addition, I guess, to put on it.
Yeah, yeah. I know
So
this
that's
is-
just so, that- I just want to make sure we're all on the same page before we get out of here. So you're okay with that going out that feet? You just want to see whether it's a couple trees, the arborvitae's get moved out there? Because the arborvitae's going to have to get moved somewhere. You know,
Yeah,
Maybe a couple of maple trees. I mean, that's,
So we'll show a
It's very
landscape
easy to do
plan
them.
with the arborvitae's shown someplace and a handful, or a few
few maple
trees,
maybe.
you know.
Yeah.
and-
So that's,
Again, in the
so-
spirit of
So I guess, I
the
just want to
original-
make sure, that's really the only holdup over on
Yeah.
your side is really just a vegetation, whatever you want to call it, to go out front.
Right,
But we're okay with the
the building.
building,
Yep.
which is probably your main thing, right?
Yeah.
That was the whole purpose.
yeah, we don't want to be a major hidden, we don't want it to be a hindrance. I think we just,
I just want to
Just
make
one
sure
step.
everyone's clear, that's all.
Yes, no.
I think
in front.
if you did just a little extra work, said is this acceptable? Victoria and Dee could review it, comes in front of the board, quick and easy. Hey, thank you, that looks great. We appreciate you working with us. Darren, we want to work with you. Thank you for your business and everything like that. I think that we don't have any major concerns otherwise.
Yep.
Or any concerns for that matter otherwise.
What about waivers? Do we go through those now or wait till?
What were the waivers for?
Well, I originally just had a waiver for the landscaping, but based on Ms. Foss's comments, I did add a second waiver for, you don't show any existing structures, wells and septics, so, abutting wells and septics. I guess the 2001 plan, the waiver was granted for that. She had requested or suggested we ask for a waiver, just continuing that waiver.
Yep, additional waiver
Granted,
request.
that waiver being
You see it?
granted to
Mike-
today.
Mike,
Location of offset structure, wells, septics.
okay.
All right, so it's just to move that, that's all it is, it's just a,
Just to move forward the waiver, yes.
Right. As no updated plans were received, it is not known if the applicant moved the note restricting overnight parking. That
To
was
the
other
request of
one.
Yeah, that's a-
reaffirmed waivers. So these were waivers that were originally on the original site plan. And so we would reaffirm them. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's on waiver request two. Waiver request one was landscaping.
Yep.
May not be necessary once we,
Yes, yeah, that probably may not be necessary anymore.
Right.
She had, and there was a bunch of comments from her review and Mr. Keach's
Yeah.
review, and just still a lot of administrative notes and.
Right,
well, maybe,
Yeah, different
and then maybe
plans,
that can all be cleaned up by then as well.
Yeah, we'll get your revised plan with all those comments addressed in the letter, and
okay.
it's hard to do it, but we didn't have the time to meet the deadline. So.
We don't need to vote on a continuation, correct? We should state for the public, right?
Yep, yep, we just
Oh,
stated.
you-
did we want to do the waiver or?
Why
Why don't we do it?
Just do it all at
next
once.
time. Yeah.
Yeah. Do the waivers and check off the site plan for the.
Yeah, if any waivers change, we might as well hear them all at once, right? We may only need to do the one, but, I don't think there's any major concerns about that.
It's all
so.
done. You don't have to worry about it.
I'm getting old, so I need to make sure I'm clear on everything.
And just so someone's taking care of me, again, we're not voting on the continuation. I'm just stating that we're going to continue this to the next public meeting, which is, public application meeting, which is
17th, January 17th.
January 17, 2024. So, I know we have the holidays, but please have, I think they'll expect everything in by the 10th.
Okay. Yep, that's doable.
Okay. All right. Well, we appreciate it.
No, we appreciate you.
I'm sure most of us patronize the business as it is. So,
Yes, that's right.
I saw
little
a nice,
donkeys, little gas.
I saw a nice 2 in front of the first number of gas when I drove by it last night, so.
I saw a price today, I almost fell out of my car.
I know it.
Nice to see you two again.
Yep.
A one would be even nicer.
Yeah. Someday, maybe.
All right.
Go back to the price
Thank
of
you,
gas
gentlemen.
when I
We
first
appreciate
started
it.
driving.
I was in Atlanta last week, and I used to live there in the 1996, 2000. But when I moved there, gas was 75 cents a gallon.
75 cents.
1996, 75 cents a gallon. You know, South was always a little cheap. Was cheaper.
Was
than
always,
that.
yeah.
When
Was.
I got my license, which was probably around that time, it was in the 70s around here.
Thank you, Board.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
All right. With that, we will move to PB 23-15, completeness of application from Daniel Kane, Sweet Hill Farm LLC for preliminary design review of a brew pub. Plan proposes a two-story, 11,725 total finished footprint to include a bar, brew pub, pizza bar, private rooms, kitchen, office, storage, and related parking and stormwater management. Property is located at 82 Newton Road, tax map 68, lot 8 in the ICR and LDR zoning districts. The applicant is the property owner of record. If the application found to be
Thank you.
complete, the planning board may immediately conduct a public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I recuse myself from this.
All right.
Thank you. That's okay.
With Chuck's recusal, that puts
Yeah.
next one up on deck, right? So Mr. Moore will be I'm going to appoint Mr. Moore a voting member on this application.
We're not voting.
This is,
I don't think we have to vote.
What if we
it,
vote
right?
for the application to be complete?
It's not an application.
It's a primary, whatever they
We're
call
just
it.
talking shop.
All right. Thank you.
Non-binding conversation. No
I
voting.
came out of this sickness
That's
and
okay.
I just haven't
No,
done,
no.
like I haven't done any pre-work because I've been flattened out this week.
Nope.
So foggy brain. So my apologies, but thank you for straightening me out.
just be careful. Karen
Well,
has-
you know what it
Karen
is?
has her cane right there. You might
You
get
you
it.
know what it is? It was because the last sentence of, I was just reading D's thing, right? It says if the planning board may immediately conduct a public hearing. So it's
Nope,
the
just-
standard if the application is found to be complete language and that
Sit
was,
back and enjoy the presentation.
yep. All right, jump in.
Enjoy the show.
Hey, good evening. I'm Bill Hall with SEC and Associates. I'm sitting in for Charlie, last minute replacement, so you'll have to bear with me while I read off my cheat sheet here. We're
You okay?
yeah, I believe so. He just had something he had to attend to, so. So yeah, we're representing the owner, Dan Kane, with this. As it was noted, this is for preliminary design review, so there's nothing binding here. We're just looking to get some general input on our plan, and I don't know if I could pull this up on the screen here. I don't know where.
Whose email or whose account is?
That one
Who's
up
this
there now
logged
is
in?
still from last one,
Or you have to
isn't
get
it?
out of that one.
Yeah.
right?
It's from the last one.
Yeah,
Who's
it's on-
how did he get those files? Was that sent to someone's email?
Is it right? Is it up
There.
there?
I am so foggy brained. I swear.
It's
I'm gonna pull Mitch
okay.
McConnell in a second.
It's okay.
You know, we look exactly the same.
It's okay.
Okay, I found it.
Got it?
Yeah.
There we go.
Start staring into the camera.
So, this property is located at 82 Newton Road. It's the existing Sweet Hill Farm. My understanding is that everybody here knows the existing site, is well aware of what's out there, so I'm not going to go into too much detail with that. What we're looking to do is construct a brew pub on the site. It's going to be within some of the existing buildings, and there's also going to be modifications and additions to those buildings. Those are located in the northeastern corner of the site, I guess you would say. It's closest to Newton Road. What we're proposing is to maintain the existing driveway that comes in because it's located in a pretty good spot. It goes right between the buildings that are there. We don't really see any reason to relocate that too much. There's an existing garage or two existing garages in these areas, and the darker hatch is our addition. So we'll do this addition here, reconstruct this garage partially, and then have another addition. All of this lies within the ICR district. The total footprint's approximately 11,725 square feet, and the brew pub will have a brewery that's capable of 40 barrels a day, and that's going to be located in the western end of the building. That's this existing garage. The middle and eastern ends are going to provide the bar, brew pub, pizza bar, and private rooms for functions. And the southerly end will be space for the kitchen and then storage area. Above the brew pub, there's going to be some small office space. So in total, when you combine the pizza bar, private room, brew pub, there'll be approximately 205 seats for service. And we're providing parking to accommodate that, as well as the largest number of employees that we'd anticipate on the site. That's 116 spaces that we're providing, and we're required to have 98. And we're providing parking through a reconstruction of this parking lot in the northeastern area, adding a parking lot in this area next to the existing farm stand, as well as adding some employee parking over near the greenhouses.
The parking, do you plan on keeping that dirt or?
We're hoping to go with recycled asphalt.
Okay.
That's what we'd like to do.
What's out there now?
Rock, stones.
Sort of
Yeah,
like,
it's kind of like just like gravel.
gravel,
Yeah. Yep. It's pretty compact, but it's still just gravel.
Yeah.
And what's the maximum amount of people you think we'd have in there, like for occupancy? If it was maxed out.
I'm not sure. We have the architect. I'm not sure if you'd be able for occupancy. I'm not sure if that's something that we've ironed out quite yet at this point in the process. But
Obviously, at some point, well, you'd need to know the number. I know the fire chief would want to know that number.
yeah. So we're anticipating based on
Excuse me, is it indicated that the brew pub would seat approximately 200?
205. Yeah, between all the rooms.
So
Yeah,
that's all, that would be all the rooms, the bar area.
that's what we're anticipating. Yeah, bar, function room.
So 205, if you maxed out 205 would be the number then. So that's
That's what we're anticipating. Yep.
so it sounds like plenty of parking.
Yeah.
And I'm going to assume that, all the parking will be in compliance with the required requirements.
Yeah,
of the town.
absolutely. So what we're proposing here is 9 by 18 spaces and then 24-foot aisles. So we're doing the 24-foot aisles to make sure we can have two-way access through this entire parking area, as well as be able to have emergency vehicles get through there. And for the septic system, what we're proposing is a series of tanks in this area.
Which area? I'm sorry. Which area is that?
That's right.
It's
yeah.
between the greenhouses and the existing farm stand and addition. These are all going to have grease traps in them. So there's a grease trap for the kitchen, and then there's also a grease trap, I believe, for the brewery portion of it. The brewery flows are going to a series of 4 tanks. That's going to be to treat everything. There's various things you have to treat for, like pH and stuff like that, before it can be discharged. So we're doing that, and then it's getting all into a clean solutions system up in this.
Is that something that I assume research and education was put in to understand how to deal with the wastewater that comes from running your own brewery?
Yeah. So
in a place that doesn't have public water and.
Yeah, exactly. So that's something that Charlie was working with Dan Kane on.
Yep.
I know Dan's done a lot of research himself on how to treat this, because the last thing he wants to do is spend how many tens of thousands of dollars on a system to have it fail in a couple of years. So it's in his best interest to treat it as much as he can.
I think because it's just preliminary design review, I think the board would want to hear about that to alleviate any concerns about the impact of groundwater.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're over that,
Yeah.
Number one, it's going to benefit the property owner, number two, it will in turn also be the right thing. But I just want to be sure that that's going to be something I think we'll want to hear about.
Yep. Yeah, like I said, I know he's done a lot of research. I don't know if you're familiar with Throwback Brewery in Hampton, but they have a similar situation. And they have a septic system for all their brewery waste. So he's been pulling from their design.
Excellent.
What they've done seems to work really well. But yeah, going with the Clean Solutions system is supposed to be, treats the wastewater more
Okay.
than a
Better.
typical system. As far as stormwater goes, what we're intending to do, on the last sheet here, we're intending to have these parking lots sheet flow to various preliminary basins, I guess you'd say. It's like a diversion. So this larger parking lot will go down to a shallow depression here and get piped across into a swale, and then go to a larger basin that's located in the northern portion of the site. And then this parking lot will just go directly into the swale, into that basin. And then this parking will go down into a stone forebay and then get piped across into the basin. We've done some preliminary design on this, and it's much larger than it needs to be currently. And we'd be picking up all of this parking area and the roofs. So we'd be picking up a large area with this and getting a lot more treatment than what's out there right now. And then we're contemplating doing a cistern that'd be located in this turnout area. That cistern would be fed by roof runoff. So that would be the intent, to see if we could get the fire department to sign off on having a cistern there that is filled up by the roof runoff from the buildings.
What would be the main source of water for the actual brewing? Kind of a planning board question, but also kind of a curiosity.
We're drilling 2 wells, and let's see. So this is Newton Road, located down here. This is our match line on the next sheet. So our wells are back in this area in the rear of the lot.
Where were they?
So on sheet 3, there's a match line into sheet 4.
I am on sheet 3. Yep. All right. So they are
behind the northwesternmost greenhouses, I guess they would be.
So way out back there. Then.
Yeah, way out in
Yeah,
the back.
way out back.
Yep. So we drilled 2 new wells and pull a line up into the brewery.
What's the anticipated water usage that's going to be required?
I'm not sure.
It's going to be pretty. I would think it's going to be. We're not just talking about a business that's going in and going to use it for restrooms and stuff.
Yeah.
There's going to be
Yep.
water pull for cooking. There's going to be water pull for brewing.
Yep.
And then anything else. I guess my only concern would be, if these wells are the right capacity, number one, and I'm sure that'll be reviewed by engineers.
Yeah, there's a limit on how much it might actually be.
Written on the page, yeah.
And then number two, that's one of the things in protection of the abutters. And, I don't know, does anybody know about so is that timber lane behind?
Yeah, that's,
It is.
yeah.
Anybody know
Far away.
how they get their water? Are they individual wells or are they a community well?
I think that is only.
I think they're all individual wells.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
individuals?
Yeah, individual wells, but that's.
Because some of those homes are spread out pretty far.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I guess that's always the number one question about our homes in the Granite State, right? Are we sharing the same water source or are we tapping into different water sources?
Correct.
I'd hate to flip the switch on the brewery and then all of a sudden have 5 homes go, oh crap, we're pulling brown water with no.
Yeah. Yeah. So to answer your question, in the letter that Charlie had prepared here, there's going to be a limit on the flow coming from those wells of 9,720 gallons per day. So that would be the maximum that could be withdrawn from them per day.
9,720, so
Yeah.
roughly 10,000.
And then as far as the withdrawal concerns, we are proposing the septic system on the site. It's not all that far from where the wells would be. So we're withdrawing from the site, but we're also recharging on the site as well. So that, in addition to stormwater, if we did water balance calculations, it would show that we're recharging more than we're withdrawing. It would be a different story if we had like municipal water and
Yeah.
that well is maybe a mile away.
We can see it. We can
Yeah.
see the municipal water. We just can't quite get to it, right?
I'm just about there. They came down our street.
Did they? My neighborhood keeps talking about, we could get to it if we wanted to. Just don't think we want to. You guys, you're not far from it, which is a shame, right? Because it would have been a match made in heaven, I think, but.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, sorry. Welcome to keep
That's all I
going.
had. Yeah.
So one thing I was just thinking about was, the farm has got a steady traffic flow right now. The intersection of where the farm's main entrance is right near Corliss Hill. Corliss Hill is for everybody that lives on that side of town, as well as Newton. Everybody uses Corliss Hill to get to 495. Of course, once you get onto Corliss Hill, you're in Haverhill. So Haverhill, they finally paved that piece of crap road.
That's a
pretty
nice
reluctant
road too
about
in the
it.
winter, right?
What's that?
That's a nice road in the
Oh.
winter too, because it sees no sun. It's like a skating rink.
Right.
I was driving up it once, and this guy's coming backwards towards me.
Yeah.
This ain't good.
What street is it? You said Corliss?
Corliss Hill.
Yeah.
Right across from the entrance.
Yeah.
So he backed up on this side of me. I was like, I'm going back, and I went on. Anyways.
And it's not quite opposite the driveway. It's up a little way.
Yeah.
And when you come out of that driveway, what I like is that you can see both right and left, as well as the street is enough over here. So that going in and out of there is actually,
So that's 108, though. That's a state road, correct?
Correct.
Yep.
Will there be any thought around, I guess, will any lights be needed? Or is that being considered? And I know that's a DOT question, right? Number two, from an engineering perspective, how about, is there any ability to line up those entrances a little bit better?
Probably not. I'm just trying to think how it's set now. I don't know.
yeah, see how it's set now is, what would you do to
Honestly,
make it better?
I'll go in and out of there. I don't see an issue coming in and out of there, but that's me.
I'm just thinking, what if you got a function? And
Sure, yeah,
on
you
a-
got
and a
100
Friday night?
people coming out at once. I hear you.
You got a function and then
But they go in and
normal
stay.
Friday night.
Come out, and they are not all gonna come out at the same time, and they aren't all gonna go in at the same time.
To some capacity, or a busy Friday night if the place is jamming and they get, a ton of vehicles. I just want to make sure it's safe, right?
Yeah, right.
We-
No,
we-
Right.
I think what we did with the new Convenient MD and Walmart,
Well,
remember
had
that
to
that
be-
was a disaster.
That was that's
Yeah, no,
something else.
I hear you. It's something.
We haven't had any accidents there that I know.
It's
of.
definitely something we have to think about.
Yeah.
I hear you.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so we're just throwing that out there.
Yep.
That may come up. Our engineer may bring that up. So consider that might be a question mark. And is there a solution there that everybody would be amenable to?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll look into it.
And with that, is the lighting fine there? Would you need more at night coming
Yeah.
in and out of it? That might be the only other question I can think of at that entrance.
Yeah. How about the line of sight going that way towards Haverhill? Is it?
It's pretty much a straightaway.
It's pretty well straight away, you can see it.
Yeah, but it comes around that bend a little bit, right?
But when you come out to that, the end of the driveway there, you can see both sides.
Yeah.
You can see it.
I mean, I've only come out of there obviously during the day, never at night.
You got to figure the sight lines are already appropriate, right? Because there's already a
Entrance.
work.
Yeah, it's already been there. Because then you have that next entrance, which goes to the house.
Do you guys have a DOT permit for that
I'm not sure.
roadway because of what his current operation is?
If not, you're probably gonna have to get one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think you do. It may, but it may not. I don't know because what's there wasn't necessarily in a site plan format for us anyways, that I know
Yep.
of.
Yeah, because you said, it just has to be looked at and be aware of it.
Just from a conceptual perspective, the brew pub, everything that's going into the production of, the product in there, that's actually going to be grown or on the farm itself, hops, barley. et
That's
cetera,
his
et cetera.
intent, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he has some hop fields that he's moving currently. And yeah, I believe he intends to grow all the grain there too and just have it all right on the farm.
All right, so this kind of goes into the whole, sort of agritourism type scenario where, you're leveraging the farm aspect of it, developing the product, and then sort of pushing the product forward to the public.
Yep.
Excellent.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, with that in mind, it's a considerable plan, and, I'd say that the planning board is supportive of any business that wants to come here in town.
Yep.
But I think that in general, the public would be in supportive of this as well.
I guess the entrance to everything would probably be, I'm guessing, towards where the parking lots are. The entrance, how you'd enter through the brew pub, right? Probably to get to all the other functions and the function rooms and things.
Yeah, so the entrance to the brew pub is through this area here.
And that would be the entrance for everything, right? I'm guessing you flow through there and then
Yep.
wherever you go, that's
They
where
do
you'd have
the
to come in.
Barn now.
Yep, exactly.
Right.
Okay.
Mike,
I'm a visual person, so I'm just trying to visualize it.
have you had again, it's preliminary, but has there been discussions with fire and police about
Yeah, there
access
is.
to the building? And
Well, it's in here, right? The police said they had no issue, I saw.
yeah, no, I didn't expect them to. Fire, though, I mean,
Fire came back with something. What did they say?
did they? I might have missed that.
It was in here. Where is it? Letters.
It's not the building.
They want a fire alarm panel and a Knox box key system as part of the building plan at the main entrance.
And but it doesn't sound like he said anything about the roadway or the entrance or the access to the property. Any other comments, questions, thoughts, concerns?
So that's, go ahead.
On the official site plan, we would definitely like to know the exact amount of new impervious surface that you're going to add.
Yep.
And again, traffic circulation is a big concern. Assuming that the entranceway near the existing dwelling, is that for private use only?
I'm not sure.
You're talking about
Yeah, so
that,
just
you're
make
talking about
sure.
that one on the
Yeah.
left?
Yeah, between like the barn and
Two
the house.
entrances. One is to the farmhouse, and nobody is supposed to use that but the family or people for
Okay.
services.
At some point where you wonder is, well, maybe the fire's already looked at it, but do you need a second way to get out of there in case,
That's kind of what I was getting at,
in case there was something you needed a second way to get out?
I think when we had
You
fire
can
chief,
use that driveway.
Right,
I
but
just-
if- but-
Right now, it's private.
Right, but if they have it closed off, say that they have a gate so nobody can come in and out, because I'm
Oh,
thinking,
no, it's
because I'm
open
thinking,
all the
it
time.
is now, but I'm thinking if I lived in that house,
Right.
I wouldn't want people coming in and out of there, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
No,
so
I-
just make that apparent on the site plan, for
Yeah.
your protection.
Yeah, just so you can get in and out, that's a big thing, right?
Oh, yeah, no, and I've never seen it blocked, so
But
I've actually had to use it one time because the gate is on the other one.
well, years ago when it was a Good Rose, that's how you used to get in.
Right, exactly. You always went in and out.
Right, but that, that was different, but with this many people,
yeah.
No, you're
if
out of
that's your,
the
if that's your,
building.
if
You're out of
that's
the
your
building
house,
now.
you're not gonna want 100 cars coming out of function, getting out at the same time.
And it says
going
that
over.
that's where the farm sign is too, so maybe propose a new sign near the
Yeah.
the new entrance.
So from my experience coming up here, this driveway isn't all that inviting. Where he has the nice walls and
Mhm.
signage down here, it's
That's
much
where the
more
entrance
apparent.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when driving by, it's pretty apparent. But yeah, absolutely, we'll note that on the plan.
Yeah, when going back to the traffic, when when it's 5 o'clock on a Friday, there's a ton of cars coming down Corliss Hill, taking a right or a left, right? They're heading home.
Yep.
Yeah.
Incorporate in this, a a busy evening also
It's
for the
mostly for the reg.
establishment.
Yeah.
And people coming in and out of the establishment.
Right.
I guess there would just be some concerns about the traffic and the safety of people both coming out of Corliss Hill and people coming across into the establishment, people coming out of the establishment across, or taking a left and right. It could get a little hairy
Yeah.
at select times.
Yeah, and I'd just like to see it another way if they had to get out of there to make sure that would be open.
Yeah.
If, that entranceway, for whatever reason, something happened, got blocked off, and people had to get out, to make sure that you could definitely come out that other way. You need a second
I've
way
never
out.
seen that driveway blocked at all.
It could change, though.
It could change, right, but if they are doing this,
Right.
then it could be made.
Right, it's just now's the time to address it. Let's think about it now. I think that's why we're here tonight.
From a surface standpoint, we okay with what repurposed asphalt? Is that what you specified?
Yeah.
Have we had any concerns about that? I assume that's more costly than other surfaces put down that,
I'm not sure on the cost.
not costly, but more cost effective.
I would think so. Yeah, it's more cost effective than doing pavement. And it's kind of a good in between too, because when you get a lot of traffic over it, it really compacts down pretty well. Unlike gravel, it would wash away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty common at farms, I feel like, right? In the types of those,
Yeah.
those kind of locations. Anything else from the board?
Do you know if Mr. Kane is visually matching the rest of the buildings on site?
Yeah, I believe that's the intent.
Pictures.
Going to be
yeah.
matching everything. I'm not sure if
There
there's some
was
renderings we
in
can-
some of the attachments that
Yeah,
were sent to us.
There was some.
If you're online, probably not
Right
in
here.
here. But you know how we get everything
I've got
for the meetings?
right here.
If you go back back to your emails, you'll see them in there.
I
drawing
printed
I
them
saw.
out.
What's the exterior walls and roof intended to be?
Here, I got a
Any
picture of
thoughts?
them right here.
Yeah, send one there and
That's
I'll
okay, I
take.
got it on here.
Yeah,
This is in
I just don't know
color.
what the rest of the
See
buildings
that?
look like.
yeah, I had seen them.
That's great, appreciate it. Sure. What did you do, you printed it out?
Yep, these.
You're good.
This one was colored. And then there's another one. Yep, see, that's the one with the barn. And then that was the one with the,
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna have any landscaping plan concerns,
no.
like the
But
gas
these-
station.
We
these
want
are
the
two
flowers
pictures.
changed seasonally.
I think it looks beautiful, it really does, very nicely done.
All right, beautiful.
Yeah.
You wanna see it? You got it?
I saw it on the packets that was sent online.
I'll leave this here for now.
I just ran it off.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to ask of us? I know it's really just for a quick discussion. If any big topics came up, it would give you some ideas about maybe things you need to tweak or focus on. To sum up, it sounds like, comprehensive review of the water impacts to, abutter properties with regard to runoff, how it's treated, but it sounds like, work's already being done. It's a big focus for you. You need clean water to brew good beer, right? You can't, so I'm sure that's going to be a big focus.
I don't know. I think I've had some beers through the years that probably didn't have clean water.
I'm sure.
Back in the day, you used to be able to get a
PBRs.
case of red, white, and blue for $4.
Dark days.
Toilet water and hops.
$4 for a case of beer.
Entrance, traffic will be
Yeah, we'll review
discussion.
that. Yep.
Tim, anything else come to mind?
I don't think so. I mean, it's a, design review for the brew pub, so pretty much limited.
I mean, I think that,
That.
go ahead, I'm
But
sorry.
I don't see anything else.
I think that this is in the spirit of what the master plan for the town wants.
Does the lighting come into this?
Um,
Was that brought up?
yeah.
So
fair to ask
we'll be
about
showing
that.
some lighting on here. It probably didn't make it onto this
Okay.
plan set, but
Okay.
we definitely did have discussions with Dan. He has carriage lamp style lighting that's out there right now. So we'll definitely be putting some of that through the site and matching what's out there right now.
Because you need them through the parking lot, so. you know.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I've seen it. I just didn't know how far more they had to do, they were going to continue it.
Yep.
Just to amplify what Tom said, that it is, seems to be consistent with what our vision is on the master plan. I mean, if the master plan is supposed to be a living, breathing, guiding document, then, something like this is consistent with that vision.
We don't have.
And then also the economic development. I mean,
Right.
it's consistent with that also. So, in that sense, it's, I view it as a positive in that it's consistent with what we're working on right now.
Yeah, and I don't see that there's, I think you guys are doing the right things. That we're not seeing anything that's going to say, hey, we're going to have to fix something here, or else we're going to hit some roadblocks. So,
Well, I'm sure as you go along you'll get more questions, but I think we hit upon the
Yeah.
main ones.
yep.
No, it looks beautiful.
These renderings are beautiful.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting seeing the recorded site plan with all of the additional buildings that haven't officially
Yes.
been documented.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I assume that there's going to be some support structures and.
So part of the full site plan regulations is, survey and boundaries. So the board should consider what they want on that. And regarding all the other buildings, is everyone okay with it just looking like this with just boxes of approximate size?
So
Or is this the real size of all the extra buildings or just approximate? Do you know?
this was surveyed, so this is the actual
Okay.
size of all the greenhouses and all that. So,
All done.
yeah, so what we would do for the recordable plan is basically just generally what we have here, no topo or anything like that, just the location of the driveways, the buildings and all that. We've been out there surveying since 2020 at least, I know that.
What's
Very
the
well
time
thought
frame
out.
on, I know it's still conceptual and whatnot. Is there a target time frame?
I think we'd like to submit within a couple of months. Yeah. Something that ideally I think would be like a summer or fall project, something like that.
All right. Any other questions, comments, concerns?
No, I'm good.
Any,
No,
any
thank you
members of
very
the
much.
public want to speak? All right. All set?
Okay.
All right.
Thank
Thanks a
you.
lot.
Beautiful.
Appreciate it.
Thank you
Have a
very
good
much.
night.
Thank you.
Have you seen the beer list yet? I mean, that's the important stuff. Gotta have them covered. IPA, nice, something light. What's that? Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Those are the times that we don't speak of.
Yeah, right.
That was the 70s.
Dark days.
Good night, thanks.
Even
Good
though
night.
it's amazingly made a resurgence. PBR.
That is, but I'm talking red, white, and blue. That was the name of the beer. It was red, white, and blue.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
You could be with your buddies, you only had like a couple of bucks. Oh man, we get a case of this.
That was awful
just
stuff.
out of curiosity.
That was some bad stuff.
You mentioned a couple bucks. I can't remember. Six pack for 99 cents.
99 cents, right?
Six pack.
Well, think about that.
Yep.
It was hardly worth it then.
Tim, that's what
places,
red,
right?
white, and blue was. It was $4 a case.
And when it
So a
came to
6-pack was a buck.
Concord grape. Oh my God.
Tastes like victory.
I know, yeah.
Oh my
Jeez.
God.
Whoever just decided a bottle of water was ingenious. All right,
Driving and drinking was cheap.
okay, that's good.
The only thing was.
So that brings us to zoning amendments.
Okay.
So this is the evening that we set the official public hearing dates, correct?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
have to.
Yeah, does-
Unless you want to have another meeting.
No,
No.
no. All right. So just to recap where we're at. You know what's crazy is I'm starting to realize that I may be ready for the next level up on my reading glasses. That's disappointment.
Oh, you can't buy Rite Aid glasses anymore?
No, I can.
But I do.
It's just that I might have to go from 1.5 to 1.75 soon.
It's either that or longer rounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm at 3.5.
Yeah. See, I'm not there yet, but I'm. It's.
Well, you can still buy Rite Aid. 3.5.
Yes, I'm just readers, but it's
Yeah,
the
I'm just readers,
magnification's
too.
about ready to go up by the next step. So, are you on readers?
I'm 3.5.
I am.
Yep, I am
Only
too.
because they
And
get eaten by the dog.
What's your
or
magnification?
2 plus.
Oh, God, I'm
So,
bad.
I take mine off to read.
Bad.
Oh, okay. You're one of those guys. Yeah.
I'm bad.
So, anyways, yeah, I used to not have to wear them. Anyways, all right. So we've had a withdrawal of the one that Lori had brought forward regarding the MDR. I think the biggest concern about that was the timing and the notification requirement. So I think we just make that a priority for 2024.
Yes.
The other one that I thought was important to put closure onto our economic development was really taking a deep dive into uses and retail definitions. So Victoria, priority is going to be on that for 2024 as well. So
Nothing to do the retail?
I started doing some research. Again, I've been sick. I started doing some Googling, and then I just didn't feel good. So I didn't get too far. I was looking at Salem. Salem doesn't have a retail definition, but they have a lot of definitions of retail uses.
Right.
So there's two ways to skin that cat, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is either you talk about the uses specifically and don't, or you just have a more specific definition of retail.
Okay, so
Right,
does that include when we wanted to change the footage
No,
down to 10,000?
Nope.
That doesn't include that, right?
no, it would just
That could still
define,
be done.
it would define what is considered a true retail use and what isn't, because right now it's pretty broad.
Oh, yeah. Yes, it is.
But
Okay.
the funny thing about Salem, New Hampshire's retail, in their definitions, they have adult businesses like listed like
Yep.
10 different ways.
Yep.
And I was shocked. I'm like, this is basically saying that a brothel is in their definitions. It's weird.
Because
Anyways,
they'll have those in there. Yeah.
and we had also, the board had some discussion around having a completion guidelines, right? If you didn't get you got a plan approved and then you didn't complete it and it sat there and as zoning changed, right? The idea that a property could be grandfathered in for years without doing anything seemed to be counterintuitive. I'd like to put that as a priority. So those would be 3 priorities.
I'm sorry. So what was the first one?
The MDR changed
MDR. Okay.
to the
And then a full retail conversation.
full retail conversation.
And I don't think that you're going to get very far on the substantial completion.
Why is that?
Because I quoted the RSAs, and substantial completion in that whole conversation is more protection for the landowner. So if they have an approved site plan, they get, I think it's 5 years of protection if they have done substantial completion, and there is a definition for that, where then the new zoning laws don't affect them. So I know what you're talking about. You're saying if a site plan is reviewed and accepted and they start to break ground and then it's just sitting derelict for some odd amount of
Right.
years, you would like to pull them back in and re-review.
Yeah.
I don't think you would have to speak.
Isn't it a vesting is the language you'd be using?
What?
when you say substantial completion, but isn't there something that talks about, sort of vesting that actually defines that?
Yeah, substantial completion, it kind of is all encompassing like that. It talks about the specifics of what work is done. And we do have that language in our subdivision regulations of, I sent it all to you. I don't remember it
Yeah.
off the top of my head. It's if the septic system is placed, if a foundation is placed, then that is substantially complete enough to protect them from zoning changes. But I do not believe that it is within the planning board's power to pull back a site plan review. You can put it on the site plan as a condition, maybe. So this plan needs to be substantially completed within X amount of years, or else it needs to come back for re-review. I don't think that is legal.
Who would get information back on these things that have not been completed? Like, for instance, at the end, that place is supposed to be a general store at the end there, What is the problem? I mean, how long is that going to stay the way it is?
Yeah, unfortunately,
do we
the only
get
thing that you
information?
could do is, as a resident of Plaza, you could call the the
What?
zoning officer.
Oh,
Tim, have you guys ever delved into any aspect of sort of saying like, hey, you got
Right.
expiration date on this approval kind of thing?
No, the only thing we have in the vesting language is after, I think there's a 2-year, something within 2 years and then something else within 5.
Oh,
After the 5-year thing goes by, then if zoning has changed, then they would have to comply with the new zoning.
okay.
But if they've met this substantially complete or whatever the term is, there's
Yeah.
2 sets, 2 and 5 years. If they've done that, then theoretically the rest of it can sit there forever. I mean, there's no way you can.
Oh, my gosh.
I don't know. It seems weird to me. It
Yeah,
feels
we
like-
could
Right
invite
there,
in.
Yeah, again, so just to keep this thing moving, because we're going to focus on amendments for this year, that's a thought for next year, because it did require, to Victoria's point and her research on it, that we're going to have to dig into that if we care about it. So that's a potential 2024 topic. And what I don't want to do is get caught, and this happened, right? I ran into a really bad stretch in my professional career that had me missing meetings and was just generally away and not able to do a ton of work outside of our scheduled meetings either. So it was bad timing for me, but it's, I just don't want to get to a point where we realize it's kind of too late to work on something. So I know we probably say that every year, but
Yeah, it's never too early to write a zoning map.
yeah. So let's not wait, if we can't help it, to get too far into next year and realize that we forgot, so let's make sure if we think about something, it's never too early to start talking about that as a potential zoning amendment, so that we give it enough appropriate time.
Right.
And with that in mind, stormwater is now in here, correct? Or prime wetlands?
Stormwater
Stormwater is, but prime wetlands.
and, yeah.
So I want to have a discussion about that. So Tim, can you tell us the 2-cent tour of how prime wetlands is now in our packet? I think I kind of read about it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the Concom meets tomorrow night, which is, I guess there's, been running across all kinds of situations where it's better for the planning one to meet first and then Concom, and this one would be nicer if Concom met ahead. So the proposal that I wrote up made a change to the zoning, to the buffer, and also had language to put forth the prime wetlands approval. my thinking was that, although, obviously, planning board has the ultimate authority on what's in the ordinance itself, which would be the buffers. But to get Concom's input tomorrow night and then post what we have for the public hearing, and then at the public hearing, if there's any change that Concom has, make that change during the public hearing, and then that all goes, then we post it to the warrant. So kind of a two-step process.
But this was originally going to be proposed by Concom to the Board of Selectmen and not be a zoning amendment.
That was our thought. Then Jill got information from the NHMA. They thought it would be better for the planning board
Yeah.
to sponsor. I think if you asked 150 people about how to do prime wetlands, you get 150 different answers.
My only concern is I mean, we've mentioned the words prime wetlands. We haven't talked about it all year in our official capacity. And to the same degree that we said certain things were just too late to work on, I'm a little concerned that we haven't had any official discussions about the prime wetlands and had questions asked and answered. And I'm sure there's, and I know you guys have put a ton of work into it. I'm just concerned about the timing from our perspective as a board that's going to bring forth this as a zoning amendment for this term. That's my only individual opinion. I don't know how everybody else feels.
Maybe I had an advantage. I went to the public hearing, so I got the information.
Yeah.
So I got to hear the presentation. I went to that hearing.
What's your thoughts, Chuck? What do you know about the prime wetlands? What don't you know?
I've heard a lot of bad things about it from owners and whatever.
Mostly owners.
Yeah, you always hear the loudest is always, the vocal.
I mean, I'm surprised it doesn't affect mine, but
But from a planning board perspective, as us, who's going to bring forth the zoning amendment, are you comfortable? Would you be comfortable? Again, I think we have the best people in the community working on this stuff. I just didn't have an opportunity to ask questions about it.
Isn't a lot of the, Tim, a lot of the concern, does it have to do with the extended buffers? In that, if someone's property all of a sudden becomes prime wetland, there's potential loss of value or something along those lines?
Yeah, that was the primary concern. The buffer extended. The current buffer is 75 feet for structures and septic. And the prime wetlands proposal, well, not proposal, it's in our ordinance. We redid the ordinance a couple of years ago, and we had prime wetlands buffers in there as a placeholder because we hadn't defined what prime wetlands were. I mean, so the prime wetland buffers are 50 feet more. So instead of 75 feet, it's 125. Then there's a limited use buffer, which has a smaller buffer. And those are set of permitted uses, like agriculture or forestry. There's a list of 15 or 20 uses, which are, not real intense uses. So it would still be protective of the wetlands.
What was the basis for extending the wetlands buffer, was there some studies, science, anything behind it? Or just sort of saying, hey, let's try to get some additional protection because of how important these wetlands are?
No, yeah, I think that was because you go through some kind of definition process to, so you pick out wetlands that have the highest functional value. Maybe they have threatened wildlife species. Again, I think there was 15 or 20 criteria that we used to, Mark West of West Environmental, we did the evaluation, used to come up with what we determined to be prime wetlands. So it had to be over 2 acres. Was probably the major one. So because after that evaluation, those wetlands had higher functional value, you wanted to afford more protection by increasing the buffer.
I guess I'm kind of torn because I know there's no better hands in the community to do the research, the work to do it.
It's a hot
Just kind of
topic.
wish we had started talking about this in the summer or something and knew that this was on deck. Answered, just kind of worked through some of the questions and answers and worked through any concerns that anybody might have. That's my only concern is the timing and not really knowing a whole lot about it, and then to kind of put our stamp on it, push it forward. I don't know. What are your thoughts, Karen, Richard?
Well, is it just merely procedural? I mean,
Right.
so you went through the Conservation Commission, a study was done, you've had a public hearing,
Right.
and now it's just a question of how it's going to be presented on the
On the ballot.
to the public. I mean, is it going to then, if we take it up, it's going to be a public hearing, then we're going to have to do, correct?
Like any other change that we make, yeah.
Right. So if there were to be a public hearing, would the people, the members of the Conservation Commission be amenable to being present,
Yeah,
or
be available to
or
talk about it?
like a joint session or something, to rather than taking harpoons up here on things that are specific?
I would guess so, but I mean, it's a different meeting night, so, I don't know what else.
So I'm kind of confused by that. If we take this on, this will be part of our zoning amendment public hearing evenings. But you're saying there's also a different public hearing
The
tonight to talk about this one? Wouldn't we have to be there?
Yeah, it would be, Tim, it would be talked about when we have the public hearing for all the other warrants, right?
Yeah.
Same night.
Well, what are you talking about there being a public hearing for Concom? Or is that just a public
No,
meeting?
he's just saying a public
No.
hearing for when we do it. It would have to be a public hearing, right, which we
It'd be the
schedule
same
anyway.
time.
So it'll be,
Yeah.
it'll be part of when we do the public hearing for all these other ones.
Yeah. So what do we need to do tonight with these amendments? We just need to sort of say, hey, we're good. These are the ones we're going to propose for public hearing, and then make make an announcement.
Yep.
Do I read them tonight?
Probably should go over them, right? Let's just
Yeah.
do that and that's it.
Yeah, I'd read them, because if we just say this, anyone watching, all three of the people.
It's little. The words are little, and my glasses aren't working all that way. So
What, nine? What?
no, yeah, that's when we're like, oh, explosion. Good evening. All right, let's see. So we have, one is just housekeeping on the first one, which was to update C24-01 voters note. So that was, the first one was, and again, there's a strike through December 2023. that was the aviation one, right?
Right.
So we're not doing that one, correct?
We are.
We are doing that one.
We are doing that one.
Make sure we watch out for those planes.
Yeah, we're just deleting aviation as a permitted use. That's all that, basically, in a nutshell.
Okay.
That's what that is.
All right, and then, so that one was a no-brainer, easy, just housekeeping, I guess. The
Number
next
two.
one was 02, right?
Yep. Proposed by the Plasto to ordinance home for home occupation condition.
Yep, so we're adding the language around the cars, trucks, and trailers. Everybody's good with that one, right?
Yep.
Okay. Again, I don't need to read these, correct?
Well, we ought to
Right.
go over them a little bit.
It wouldn't hurt if you read them. I mean, there's only 8 of them, right?
I'll take care
It's
of
up
it.
to,
You want me to hold them over here, or you can
What's that?
see better?
Well, I mean, even on the first one, the December
Yeah.
2023.
Yeah, that's
Is it
it
across
kind
it?
of,
2401, are you in favor of amendment number 1 as proposed by the Plastow Planning Board, the Plastow zoning ordinances, blah, blah, blah. Industrial 2 by deleting aviation as a permitted use in the district.
Yep.
So we are not, we're not recommending this evening, right? We're just,
Should make a motion to post it for the public hearing.
that's what it is. Thank you, Tim. All right, so I'll officially read it, and then we can make a motion and post it to the public hearing, and then go to the next one. Proposed Plastow zoning amendment C24-01. Are you in favor of amendment number 1 as proposed by the Plastow Planning Board to the Plastow zoning ordinances, Article 5, establishment of districts and district regulations, Table 22? I can't read that.
dash 32K.
32K, is that what it is?
Yes.
2232K, industrial 2
Industrial to,
by deleting aviation as permitted use in the internet. Do I have a motion to post this to the public meeting to be
Yeah,
held on?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
All right, Karen seconds. And for record, the public meeting would be January 3rd, is that correct?
Yes.
2024. Do I have any discussion on the motion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained. Motion passed 500. Public, put Z 24-01, posted to the public meeting for January 3rd. Proposed Plastow zoning amendment Z 24-02. Are you in favor of amendment number 2 as proposed by the Plastow Planning Board to the Plastow zoning ordinance, Article 10, home occupation 220-67 conditions by adding the words total, which includes cars, trucks, and/or trailers, end quote, to letter G to read, G, sufficient off-street parking for the employee and clients is to be provided. Any required deliveries can only be made by vehicles consistent with normal residential activities between the hours of 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. The outside parking of not more than 2 business vehicles total, which includes cars, trucks, and/or trailers, for each dwelling unit on the lot is permitted in all residential districts, provided the vehicles Wait, I'm kind of confused by that last sentence. Am I seeing that incorrectly, or are you guys?
Total, which includes cars, trucks, and/or trailers for each dwelling unit on the lot is permitted in all residential districts, provided the vehicles.
Provided the vehicles run, provided the vehicles are in operate, like, it's just,
It then just goes on.
That's not the whole thing. I think there's
Not the
more
whole
word.
thing.
It's not the whole thing. It's
Okay.
just-
I mean, I don't not necessarily need to
Home
read it tonight
occupations are
anyways.
not
right.
intended to change the character of residential neighborhood. You got to read that.
We're only making changes.
That's just
to
the
that one
voters know.
paragraph.
Yeah, because it's just
We don't
a,
need to
it's just a
expand
paragraph, so. yeah.
Got it,
the
got it.
ordinance.
Okay, all right. Someone want to make a motion to add this to the,
I'll make the
Public meeting.
motion to add it to the public hearing.
Second it.
1-3.
I don't know, who, that was
Richard
quick.
seconds.
Richard seconds. Bill motions, Richard seconds. Any discussion on the motion?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
I'm sorry. Do you want me to write down who is voting for
What?
What was the first one? Who made the motion on the first one?
I made them on
I
both.
second it.
Thank you.
Proposed Plasto zoning amendment 24-Z24-03 are in favor of amendment number 3 as proposed by the Plasto Planning Board to Plasto zoning ordinance article XVA solar collection systems as detailed below. Do I need to read all that?
Yeah, I would.
Because I know we're gonna have to read it the public notice, but do you guys want me to read it now?
We can all take turns.
All right, jump in, Karen.
Okay. Okay, so by modifying the phase ordinance to the solar ordinance, and by adding a second sentence to the second paragraph as follows. In doing so, the solar ordinance will help protect the general health, safety, and welfare for all Plasto residents, as well as making sure the ordinance in compliance with applicable state and federal laws. You want me to go on?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, amend 22052, 50.2, definitions by adding new definitions, modifying definitions, and listing all definitions in alphabetical order as follows. The photovoltaic system,
Voltaic.
system, also referred to as I like this better, photovoltaic installation, an active solar energy system that converts solar energy directly into electricity. Rated nameplate capacity, maximum rated alternating current AC output of solar collection system based on the design output of the solar system, sometimes measured in direct current DC at the output of the solar panels. The AC measurement is the output of an inverters that convert the DC power to AC power. Solar access, the access of solar energy system to direct sunlight. Solar collection system mounts. Roof mount, no change in definition. Ground mount, no change in definition. Now, how do we know what the definition is there? You mean no change?
Do we already have
It
it
stays the same
defined?
as to what's already there.
We already have it defined, right, in our zoning?
Yeah, so
So what is
there
it?
was new definitions, modifications, and then reordering alphabetically. So this is just reorganizing those
Okay.
different
All right.
mounts under solar collection system.
So A and B stayed the same, but carport mount was
Mount
at,
a solar collection system of any size that is installed on a carport roof only over a commercial industrial parking area. Solar collection system sizes. Small system solar, no change in definition. Mid-size system, no change in definition. Large system, no change in definition. Very large system, no change in definition. Hot water solar system, sizing for these systems shall be based on solar land coverage only. Is this all include what we were talking about as far as being too high or too many, Is that all included in when they talk about change in definitions? Right, Tim?
Yes.
Okay, so all the definitions that we read before, that's what it
yeah.
includes.
Why don't I keep reading and then we can ask some questions?
Yeah,
right?
if you get down to the bottom, you'll start seeing, start mentioning.
Solar energy, radiant energy received from the sun that can be collected in the form of heat or light by a solar collector. Amendment 220-50.3, table of permitted uses by adding the commercial 3 C3 zone to the commercial 1 C1 zone column, making C1 and C3 permitted uses for solar identical, and by deleting the word solar from the system names in the solar system type column. And then amendment 220-5.4 roof mounts by
Okay.
adding a new paragraph 3 as follows. The highest point of the roof mounts may not exceed 55 feet and must have the fire chief's approval if the highest point exceeds 47. Amendment 225-50-5.5 ground mounts by adding a new sentence to the second paragraph as follows. In no case shall the height of the panels exceed 20 feet. Amendment 220-50.5 ground mounts by changing the setback requirements in paragraph 4 from 200 to 50 feet. Add a new section 220-50.11, abandonment as follows. All ground-mounted solar collection systems that are no longer in use shall be considered abandoned and must be removed by the property owner in 150 days or less after the abandonment occurs. And that would be, would someone like to make a motion to recommend that for
Yeah, I'll make
Public
the
notice.
motion to recommend it for
I'll
the public
second it.
hearing on January
Bill
3rd,
motions.
2024.
Karen seconds?
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? All right. Okay, this was withdrawn,
No, proposed. Article
224-04, Z20, 224-04.
We didn't read 3. 3 was, the revisions presented in this amendment are based on the recommendations from the Energy Committee. The correct and omission, add relevant definitions and propose.
You're just reading the voters'
We
notes.
just did 3. You're
Oh,
reading
I'm
the notes.
sorry.
No, that's all right.
All right, I'm sorry.
224-04, I haven't been reading the voters' notes.
Yeah,
Z24-04 was withdrawn. Again, that is in deference to the fact that we, from a timing perspective, and because there were less than 100 properties that would be impacted, they would need an official letter sent out. And before the public hearings, we just didn't have time to do that. So that will be, so where I'm looking at, tabled until 2024.
Yep.
That brings us to Z24, the new Z24-04. Are you in favor of amendment number 4 as proposed by the Plastow Planning Board to the Plastow Zoning Ordinance, Article 4, Natural Resources Protection, 220-19 Stormwater Management Regulations as detailed below? Repeal and replacement of the following sections: 220-19.1 Purpose and 220-19.3 Minimum Thresholds for Applicability. Amendment 220-19.3 Minimum Thresholds for Applicability by changing the minimum threshold for applicability from 20,000 square feet to 15,000 square feet. So this is the C3 changes.
Oh, okay,
No.
well,
This is stormwater.
to
Stormwater.
15,000? I thought we were
Oh.
doing it to
This
10,000.
is stormwater.
It's a stormwater.
Oh,
Sorry.
oh,
Deletion from the zoning ordinance to be moved from the site plan regulations, 220-19.4, other required permits, 220-19.5, construction, post-construction regulations, and 220-19-9.6. Is that listed correctly? So make sure that
Which one?
it says,
areas and dimensions.
Section 220-19-9.6, operation and maintenance. Just want to make sure that the,
Sounds like it should probably be 19.6 if you read.
Yeah.
above. If it flows with the other one, that's.
yeah,
what-
it just might be like a typo,
Right.
right?
No, I don't think it's a typo. I think a word, put a hyphen in there
Oh.
for a hyphenated
okay,
word.
I see what you mean.
It should just be 19.6.
Okay, yeah, let me triple check. But
So if we catch that and fix it, I just want to do it now.
Right.
So moving along, deletion from the zoning ordinance, 220-19-3.1. Okay, so I get what Tim's saying. Some of them have that additional
Yeah.
responsibility for administration. 220-19, 3.2, what's that say? Severability?
Yep.
220-9, 3.3, ultimate responsibility, sample town of Plastow, notice of violation of the sample stormwater permit application. All right, so this was all of the stormwater work this is the MS4 type stuff? Perfect. All the work that you've done,
wetlands, too.
yeah. No, this is just
Oh, we're
stormwater.
not
This is
there yet.
MS4.
Okay, all right.
So these are based on the recommendation of the RPC, the Southeast Watershed Alliance, and reviewed by engineers Keach. Okay. All right, so with that in mind,
I'll make the motion to move.
Bill motions.
I'll
Second.
I'm going to give that to Chuck. And that's to being compliant with MS4 regulations. Any discussion on the motion?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion passes 500. Proposed Plastow zoning amendment Z-24-05. Are you in favor of amendment number 5 as proposed by the Plastow Planning Board to the Plastow zoning ordinance, Article 5, establishment of districts and district requirements by amending table, what was that, 3, 230,
32M?
220, 32M, C3, Commercial 3, Section C, areas and dimensions as detailed below.
Okay, here we go.
Amended table 220-32M-C1, areas and dimensions by changing the minimum lot size area from 80,000 square feet to 60,000 square feet.
Okay.
Amendment table 220-32M.C5, areas and dimensions by changing the maximum building size where a single business is to occupy a single building from 20,000 square feet to 15,000 square
Okay,
feet.
that's what I thought was 10,000.
One clarification. Is this stuff available on the website? I'm looking right now and it's not posted. I was watching it at home and I came here and there's no, we're looking at packets and I don't have any of those.
So right now we are just looking at the proposed zoning amendments, and now we're
Will that be on the agenda?
nope. So now we're gonna vote to have them have a public review, which will be on the 3rd.
This is on the agenda as zoning
Well, then
amendments.
Right.
they'll be
There's not-
posted.
This has not been available to the public yet.
This isn't a public meeting for the zoning amendments.
With the public, not for.
We're voting on making this a public meeting.
But yeah, this is not available. I can't pull this up on the website. So I'm asking.
No. But yeah, but after we vote to.
You could look at the minutes from our previous meetings where these were discussed.
Website is very difficult if you go and try to navigate it.
On your phone?
You're having stuff you're discussing, it should be posted within, right on the page. And I've said this before for other departments as well. You expect the public to
Website.
follow up and be informed, but you do not provide the information to the people. Half the people with the I came here because I was watching online, by the way. Half the people at the conservation meeting had no idea what was going on.
I'm just going to jump in. I get it. I know you probably want to speak to this. I don't want to cut you off just because what we're trying to do is get through this and this is just administrative stuff.
I'm also just trying to be educated
Okay.
what's going on in my town. If you see me, I go to a lot of these meetings and I try to do my best. And it seems like the town really ties our hands. The reason that this is coming, the conservation is coming to the planning board, is because I said we could change it at deliberative and the chair didn't like that. So if you pick that up, that's another, in my opinion, that's a really backhanded move to the members of this town because more people.
I'm going to ask you.
At that meeting.
I'm going to ask you to stop for a second. I'm going to welcome you to the public meeting, and that's what we're announcing for tonight.
That was my question.
Okay.
So you answered, it's not available to the public.
All right. So going back to Z24-05,
5. Yes.
this was the C3 change, correct?
Right. And the one what we just read, 20,000 square feet to 15, I had said 10.
Then we had some discussion about it, though.
We did. I don't think we agreed. Did we agree to it? To that off the top of my head, I don't remember.
I don't think we,
This was my math.
I didn't think we did.
Yeah.
This was your math after our meeting?
So we talked about changing the table
Yeah, especially
from
this
20
one.
to 15
Right.
at the last meeting. And then
I
there
didn't
were,
think it was 20. That's what I commented on. So I said, I
because
was,
you're working off the wrong zoning ordinance.
no, from 15 to 10 is what I wanted to change it to. I didn't realize it was already at 20. I didn't realize that. And then you pointed that out. So I said, I still would like to see it at 10,000. I didn't know we voted on that.
I feel like we had a discussion about this
Yeah.
and settled on
On 15.
15.
I'd rather have 15.
Is it-
I was the one that brought this whole thing up. This was my thing on the C3.
Oh, no.
So, okay. I don't agree with it.
But I just want to make sure we're all on board, and because I thought we had reached a consensus, or at least a majority,
Yep, okay.
about where it should be. That would, that where the majority of us would support it.
Which means recommended by the planning board, I'm supposed to vote 0, vote yes with it? Because I'm not. I wanted
No,
that change
No,
to
you can
10.
vote. You can vote.
You can still vote no.
You can vote no.
Whatever you want.
Yeah.
Yep.
nobody should ever tell you how to vote.
No.
You vote the way you want to vote.
No, and this is good. This is good because this is our last opportunity to say, hey, is there, like, even if it's just housekeeping, fix a little bit here or a little bit there. But let's revisit that if you want. I mean, it was kind of an arbitrary number anyways. Like, I think we realized that certain types of businesses, you know.
Didn't we have a concern that we didn't want to make it too small? Because
Yeah.
if we did, then what you're going to do is just encourage certain.
I think there was a certain business in mind that we figured was
Instead of
going
one business, you could end up with two.
Yeah. But we also thought about it from the perspective of,
Yeah.
there's a certain type of business that an individual had in mind and looked it up, and that business was typically 8,000 or 9,000 square feet footprint. So we'd have to go to what, 6 or 7 to stop that business from going in? I don't know.
Yeah, and I just figured 10 was a good number in between there, but that's,
Right now it's 20.
Right now, it's
And I
20.
didn't realize that.
And by making it 15,000 instead of 20,000, I scaled back everything 25%. So that's where I did the math.
Did the board sort of have
It was not a full discussion. We only talked about changing
First one.
the first one, 20,000 square feet to
That was
15,000
fine.
square feet.
Yep.
When a single business is to occupy a single building. And then I said, oh, there's other things that we need to consider, like maximum lot coverage. And the area is 80,000 square feet. So I scaled everything back 25%.
was 15?
Because if you just
but was
change-
15,000 the number we kind of settled on? Because I feel like we did.
Yeah.
It was?
Yeah.
Okay. But you said you just used the math, but you used the math, and then we said, okay, that number's okay.
Yeah, so we really only talked about when a single business occupies a single building. We wanted that to be 15,000 square feet, and it's now 20. And then we agreed that you would allow me to math everything and scale everything back to the same proportion. So I chose 25%.
All right.
So everything is 25% small.
All right. Yep.
But that is the number that we all thought 15,000 was the specific number we talked about at the last meeting.
Yeah. Do you want me to pull up the?
No, I'm just
No,
want to make sure
no.
we're on the same page. But I'm still hearing that you feel better about a smaller number.
Mhm.
I think
I had just
didn't.
proposed a smaller number,
Yeah.
and I didn't realize that it was that high to begin with. So I thought I was lowering from 15 to 10.
Did someone start to say like, hey, such and such a place is probably this size? Like, didn't we say
I
what's the
know we
old
did
Rite
look
Aid?
into other businesses. We looked them up that night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard. I don't know what the right number is, to be honest.
Right, that's kind of my feeling too, so I just wanted to be sure, but I was just afraid that the same businesses that are down here on 125, let's put some more in, the same, up on C3, going toward Kingston, and one way to stop them, most of them were above, 15,000 feet. So I said, well, if we put down 10, then they can't get in there. But-
Yeah, we settled on 15, I believe, because I said that a Walgreens is around 14,000 square feet. Everyone's been inside a Walgreens.
Yeah.
Yes. It's not a terribly large building.
That was kind of our base, our size, our brain kind of
As
put
I
the size.
remember the
Yeah.
conversation going.
It's a decent size.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
But it's not a Walmart.
you wanted 10. I mean,
Yeah.
is the board okay with 15, or do we want to make a last minute pivot? And
I'm good with 15.
I think 10 might restrict it a little too much. That's my opinion.
That would be.
I'm
yeah, that'd
I'm
be 50.
agnostic. I mean, I think we
I
just, we left it at, you were going to do some math to kind of make,
Yeah.
kind of bring everything back to where,
all
in
right. So,
proportion, but
Okay.
everyone knows that the black striker is the most effective way to stop a business from coming in.
Right.
It's a snake.
And we can always continue this conversation next year. When we talk about retail in general and what we want the commercial
We'll see
districts
what
to look
happens.
like.
Yeah, and to your point, I mean, we could amend it to 14,000 next year and 13,000, like, I'm not saying we would do that, but if there was some feasible basis for saying, oh, the 15,000 didn't achieve the required or the desired result, then we can go back and change it again.
Yeah.
I'm okay
Okay.
with 15.
No, I'll
Yeah,
go for
scaling
this
everything
year.
back 25% is not insignificant.
Yeah, true. Amendment table 220-32M .C6, areas and dimensions by changing the maximum building size where multiple, did I already read this?
No, you didn't read the
Multiple
last one.
businesses are to occupy a single building, 60,000 square feet to 45,000 square feet. And that was the last change for that.
Yep.
I'll make the motion to bring this to the public hearing on 1/3/2024.
Bill makes a motion to bring it to
second.
public hearing. Chuck seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? 5-0-0. 4.5-0-0. There was a half. I'm not sure. I have a hard time with that one. I don't know what the right answer is, to be honest.
I know, well, this is just my suggestion, that's all. it
No, I
was.
hear you. No, it's honestly the C3
We'll
was,
see what happens this year.
C3
You're right.
has been
I'll go
great
back
work
next year and
to-
change it if we have to.
the C3 is great work, and I appreciate it. All right, so that brings us to where are we again?
We're now on the proposed Plasto Amendment Z 2406.
Oh, there it is. All right, and these are the prime wetlands. All right.
Boundaries and setbacks.
So you know what, I'll ask you, you've come here, we appreciate it, like, we're open to the public, we always are. Even though certain things are public hearings and meant for public, hold on a second. I'm trying to talk to you and you're jumping in. I'm trying to give you an opportunity to talk, actually. So what I'm saying is, there are certain sessions that are for public, during our hearings that are set aside for public comment. And then when people come in and we don't actually have a public hearing, we always let them talk. So here I am, just want to give you a minute or two because this isn't actually a public hearing, but I respect that you've come and you want to speak. So all we're doing tonight, just so you know, and all we're really discussing is whether or not this amendment as proposed is going to be put forth to a public hearing. That's all we're discussing tonight. We're not saying that we approve it, we're going to vote for it, we're going to recommend it. We're just saying, do we want to bring it to the public hearing for discussion? So if you want to speak to that,
I would like to speak to that. I don't think that the planning board should touch this at all because you haven't, this is the first time it's really been put in front of you, correct? If you were at the meeting, I didn't see you there. This room is packed with homeowners. And there was a comment earlier by a gentleman here saying that, like, of course, it's the minority that's upset. Well, yeah, it is the minority because you're affecting people's lives. My lot is 200 feet wide. And there's already restrictions. The people that were here that packed this place were the people that you're going to affect. And typically with a transaction, if you're taking something away, you give something in return. And all this town has been doing has been taking away and not giving. You're taking away our rights as property owners. There's already restrictions in place. There's not even restrictions at the state level for prime wetlands. So it's the fact that it's being put through planning board right now at this stage of the game is because they don't want the citizens that were here to go and change it because that was mentioned at that meeting. So if government wants to keep masking itself, please push this forward through planning board and put it in the zoning so people will just ignore it completely. If that is your aim, please do that.
all right, thanks. Why am I hearing like squeaks?
Yeah, I heard
Nice.
that.
No, duly noted. This is the discussion about whether or not to bring it to the public notice for a public hearing, for a public discussion. So,
And I think the reason conservation is putting it through the planning board was NHMA, that's their recommendation, is that's how it should be done.
Yeah.
For zoning, and that's,
Yeah.
Pass it.
Just for,
Exactly, you were there. I know you
Yes,
were there.
I was
You
there.
heard that come up and
I
that
was there.
mentioned. And then stuff started to change. It was originally going to be put forward as a warrant article until that came up at meeting. And then all of a sudden, things went 180 degrees. So if you really want to tuck it in, because this is the first time in the planning board, this is, as far as I know, have you guys ever touched this? Has this come up in your planning board meetings this session?
prime wetlands has been discussed for many years in various capacities.
Pertaining to this warrant article and everything else. Like, if that was the case, I don't know why you guys weren't at the informational night.
In various
I know
capacities.
some of you were here, I know the faces that were here, but like the planning board, and all the questions that were asked tonight were not answered. The meeting was, we were still asking questions, and the meeting was trying to be shut down. They tried to shut us down. I wish that that was recorded, so the people of this town could see what happened. That this meeting was being shut down when people were asking legitimate questions and concerns about their property. And the chair basically said, I don't care about a minority if it benefits everyone else. If we don't care about minorities or your neighbors or their families, then we should just abolish this thing, because that's what government is here to do, is to protect us. And taking away people's rights is disgusting.
Can I ask
So-
a question? Or?
Yeah, I'm just going to put this out there, right?
Okay.
The same people here in this meeting are volunteers for all over this town, does a ton of stuff. And I can't, it really gets to me when people are accusatory, right, about people's, who they are as individuals, right? As if we are trying to victimize other people, right? The people in here are trying to do what we think is the best way to help this town flourish. That being said, I recognize due process. I understand everybody's rights. For this meeting, we're going to discuss whether this gets pushed or brought forth to public discussion. There was a shift in what people thought was the best procedural way to bring this, and it was determined that, hey, this should be a zoning change, and therefore the planning board should bring it to the public discussion. I see you're shaking your head no.
We're gonna have to respectfully disagree on that, because that shifted. This is the same way that the school, obviously not you, should have been a bond. And they did it in another way so it would pass. It's all about getting things that you want passed, bypassing the actual individual that can make a change. And
You're making presumptions. I mean, and again, one person has thought the best way to bring it forth to the voters was through this channel, and now someone's saying, no, it's really under the jurisdiction of the planning board. It should go through that channel.
you're taking away the people, the power that we can have as people by putting it under zoning. You're taking away our rights as individuals, as the ones impacted, to change that. That's what deliberative's for.
Do you know who,
Deliberative is a political move. It is a sneaky thing to do to get something passed if you want.
Can I ask-
That's what's happening.
can I ask you who is going to determine whether or not the prime wetlands changes would be approved under the old way or this way? They're both subject to a town vote.
We can go back and forth.
I'm just saying, they're both the same thing. It comes down to the town.
Get your recommendations and they vote.
Tom, can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
The majority, you have to watch a video every night of every single committee, which I try to do, to have any comprehension of what is going on in this town. The average voter has no idea. They look at the vote of the board, and then they vote that way. And that's how it goes. Unfortunately, I wish they were more educated. I wish, but like that doesn't change their right to vote.
I don't disagree with you on that front. Go ahead.
Just a question. I mean, and I'm sympathetic to what you're saying with respect to the method of how this is going to be presented in front of the public, right? And I am sympathetic to what you said about whether the question, the school budget. There was an aspect of it, something was going to be presented as a bond or not as a bond because the bond required a higher threshold. So in that sense, if the perception is that it's being presented to the planning board so that it's not amendable at deliberative session, I'm sympathetic to that, but I also recognize the fact that they are talking about zoning, so the logic isn't necessarily to try to make it where it can't be amenable. It does have a proper
there's-
venue to be in the
It doesn't
planning board.
change it, to Richard's point, it doesn't change the threshold by doing it this way or the other.
I
That
think
being
you
said-
should show up. I think if we do take it and there is a public hearing, then, that's, everything you're saying should be said in front of that public hearing with all the ferocity and spirit that you're showing. And, and people are going to see it and then bring it to the deliberative session, same thing.
And I'll be.
And then
frank-
have people vote it down if they
And I'll
don't
be
like it.
100%, hold on a second, can I just say this? I'll be 100% frank. Before you came, I determined that I'm likely voting no on this recommendation to bring this to the public hearing, because I don't think that, I personally don't feel like the board is ready to present this to the public. That's my own personal opinion as one of 5 members on the board. I'm just saying this, right? So I just don't want you to presume that we are trying to somehow go around the public and try to shoehorn something in or do it on the shady way.
I hope that's the case, but from what I've seen and repeated things that I've seen happen in this town, it seems that that's the common practice. And I would absolutely love for you to prove me wrong. I would love it, and I would be flabbergasted. But I have a feeling that in the end, I will be right. But it's when I'm wrong and I'm happy, that's still a bonus. So I guess we'll see what happens.
Okay, so I would respectfully ask, like I said, I love that, we can have good commentary. I understand you're passionate about it. I appreciate that, right? Because to your point, not enough voters understand some of the ramifications of things that happen in town. And then, they might go on social media and talk about it, but they don't necessarily get involved. And so I appreciate that, right? It's good to have back and forth. It helps us understand. Again, we're volunteers. We do have good intentions.
You can have good intentions and you could, everyone that sat at that board of that conservation meeting was unaffected. How many people here are affected by the prime wetlands? Can you raise your hand?
It's in our community.
I'm close.
Could be.
Are you affected by it? Will it
No,
affect your property?
I'm close to what the lot size is.
Some of the people have restrictive lots.
Yep.
I mean, my lot is 200 feet wide. And, it's a little bit longer, but there's design challenges. I already had a septic done, and it's a design done. You're impacting, I have been to deliberative. You might have seen me there, you might recognize me. I'm there pretty much. I don't think I've missed one.
No, and I don't think I've ever seen you at any of the meetings. No, I will say no one is right. He does show up for
Yes,
everything.
yes.
No, that's good,
He's
because
there
most
every
people
time.
don't.
More people were here that night than I have ever seen at a deliberative meeting. Ever. And the feeling in that room was not positive at all. Because you are basically taking away from your neighbor. There's restrictions in place. I don't think any single person there would argue the importance of wetlands. I myself clean the trash that runs off of North Ave out of my yard. It is disgusting. And to me, I understand the importance, but we're also not addressing the other things that you're restricting your neighbors, but you're not really taking care of the issues that are impacting the wetlands. If you saw the runoff that comes right off of my house is down in a gully from the street. Everything in North Ave, oil, gas, trash, washes off of that street into your wetlands. And there's nothing you can do about it. Well, unless you want to restrict traffic on North Ave, but that's not you guys, because you didn't even include North Ave in your traffic calming study, which is probably next to 125, which is probably the most, it is probably the busiest street next to 125.
So
It's not included in your study.
I'll say this in the interest of time. We'll go through this procedural part, which is to read it. We'll vote. We may not have a public hearing because the vote may not recommend to go to a public hearing, or we go to a public hearing and then these conversations are welcome to open ears, right? I think that this board is really good. It's like it doesn't just lock in on one thing. We've got different opinions from different people. So, yeah, like, so that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna continue
Just one thing, Tom.
Yeah, yeah.
If we vote to have this be put forward for public hearing, now the recommendation of the planning board then would follow from that?
Yeah, we haven't even voted to
So
recommend it or not.
we could turn around after public hearing, say that, you know, I don't like this.
Yeah,
or
it,
not.
it could go a couple different ways. We could recommend to not bring it to the public hearing, which means in that case, it doesn't get put on the warrant articles for the 2024 town vote. We could recommend it to go to the public hearing, have a public discussion, and then vote. And we could all say, we don't care what you said, or we listened to you, thank you, but we're going to vote 5-0 to recommend it. It could be 4-1 to recommend it, 3-2 to recommend it, or conversely 0-5 or 2-3. You know, it could go all different ways.
Question, I guess, word of clarification, whatever, but public hearing only has to be posted on the website and a newspaper, is that correct? So
Yeah, there's
so people affected by the wetlands will not be notified that there is a hearing directly.
Right, it has to be posted in 2 spots.
Two public
spots.
So
usually
newspaper and usually your website.
Like the town of Plastow website and shared to the other ones in town.
So if you have a hearing, the only way that the people affected by this will know is if they are paying attention, correct? They will not be notified, because there's 400 people, 400 people and advisors. So I guess I'd have to, if you put it into hearing, I'd have to, I'm guessing that information is publicly available. It would be upon me to do a right to know, to gather that and then contact those people.
Right, because there were 400 or so notices sent out, I know that.
Yes.
Yeah, in a few moments, we'll know if we're recommending this to go to the public hearing, and then, again, it'll be publicly posted in 2 spots, and then social media, I know, is one of the avenues that some people otherwise don't know about it unless someone posts it on the Plastow page or something. So
social media is only as good as it reaches.
yeah, to that point.
I know this is not your department, and I know you probably can't answer that, but I would assume that that's public information who that was sent out to the abutters and people that can be obtained fairly easily.
There could be somewhere. I don't have it, but I'm sure, you know, it's easy enough probably to figure out.
Okay.
Yeah, and they, you know, we make sure that we follow the whatever the state guidelines are for that kind of stuff.
That's
So,
also debatable. There's been, not you guys, but there's been a lot of stuff that hasn't been guidelines in town that I found out indirectly. So.
but all right. So with that in mind,
We're not like the others.
I'm not accusing you of being like the others. I'm just saying that there are instances that I've already found out.
I'm just
that
kidding.
Question certain things. I'm
Just
not accusing you of anything. So for now.
Fair enough.
All right, so with that in mind, here's a new proposed amendment, which is Z24-05, which is, are you in favor of amendment number 5 as proposed by the Plastow Planning Board to the Plastow Zoning Ordinance Article 5, Establishment of Districts and District Requirements by amending Table 220,
No, sorry, keep going. We're on 6 now.
6.
sorry.
We'll keep up.
You're like, yeah, keep going. Proposed Plastow zoning amendment Z24-06, are you in favor of amendment number 6 as proposed by the Plastow Planning Board to the Plastow Zoning Ordinance Article 4, Natural Resources Protection, section is at 220.18.3, boundaries and setbacks by reducing the size of the prime wetlands buffer as detailed below. Wetland buffers and setbacks in feet, prime wetland, limited use existing prime wetland.
Was.
Yeah, so that was all crossed out to propose prime wetland from 100 down to 50 on limited use buffer, parking and structure buffer from 125 to 100, wastewater system setback from 125 to 100, and then wetlands greater than 3,000 square feet at 50, limited use buffer 75, parking and structure buffer, and 75 for wastewater system setback. Furthermore, shall the town vote to designate certain wetlands referred to as prime wetlands within its borders as being worthy of extra protection because of their size, uniqueness, fragility, unspoiled character, or other relevant factors that make them of substantial significance per RSA 482-8 section, colon 15. Again, man, I got to go to the step up on the readers. Criteria to designate prime wetlands are detailed New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services Wetland Rules ENV-WT 700, and we're using the selection of proposed prime wetlands. All right, any additional discussion on that one?
I'm just trying to. I guess as I'm confused on that table, it says existing prime wetlands, when they use buffer, you got 100, then 125, then 125, right? Proposed is 50, 100, 100, so it's less? I'm confused.
I am confused as well.
When I look at that, I'm going, it's less than what it said
So
was
we're
existing.
making the setbacks less?
Yeah. So
I know at the meeting, they said it was 125, 75.
correct, it was going up 50, 75 to 125.
So
That's what
Tim,
it said
can you shed some light
I'm just
on
saying
it?
at the table, I'm confused looking at
I
this
can't
table.
read it because I don't have.
Yeah, that's all.
Can you help with clarification on that part? Was it adjusted and then adjusted again? Like, did it go from 75 to 125 back to 100?
It was just a proposal with the, the existing wetlands ordinance could be modified by the planning board.
What are the existing setbacks?
Right. Existing ones are, those lines are reversed.
Is that what it is?
Because I'm just confused.
No, I'm sorry.
if
The
you don't
existing
mind,
ones
please
are
let us know.
100, 125, and 125. The proposed was to cut those back. Something to consider. I don't know what the Concom is meeting tomorrow night.
So these numbers reflected on this,
I don't think we should.
these numbers reflected here weren't given to us correctly? Are they juxtaposed?
I think Concom's first meeting since the public hearings tomorrow night, Tim, is that correct?
Yeah.
I'm not good at. I don't think it's clear enough.
Okay, so I think that
Just-
within the current ordinance, prime wetlands, the definition is different than what's being proposed. So as it stands right now, only wetlands of 2 acres or more are eligible for designation as a prime wetland.
Correct.
So that is a very small amount, and it applies to this table with the 100, 125, 125. It doesn't impact a lot of people. So with this new change, they're going to include a lot more lands, 386 additional acres, which would be 30%. And then, yes, the buffers are going to be minimized, but the amount of affected land is going to be maximized.
So is this different than what we're talking about from the prime wetlands hearing that was the other night? Is this something that's different?
No, it should be exactly the same.
I'm just
Yeah.
not getting it. I'm confused.
I'm not getting any of it. I just. don't
That's
think
what
it's
it just,
Something we shouldn't be doing.
because it seems different. I don't know if this is what Concom wanted to put forward or this is something different. That's where I'm kind of confused because it doesn't, because from the other night, it was going from 75 to 125.
So 24-06 is the only prime wetlands ordinance? Is there another one?
The only one?
Hold on just a second, please. If you just, hold on a second. 24-06, is that the only prime wetlands ordinance, or is there two? I just got to read that.
24-6 refers to the zoning amendment. The area that it's being changed in is Article 4, Natural Resources Protection.
Okay.
And I do have that up. If
I'm just going to say this, and I want to do an official vote.
Yep.
I am still not understanding this, and with that in mind, I go back to what I said earlier. We should have, I would have been comfortable having this discussion in July.
We should discuss it.
Concom's awesome. They are, again, people who care about the environment. We have trails, we have conservation land in town because of them, and I appreciate all their efforts. But I guess, do we do an official motion on whether or not we want to?
I guess I'm still trying to wrap my head around this, see if I can somehow figure it out.
I get you.
That's all I'm trying to do. And I don't know if Tim knows the answer, but Tim, is this warrant article that Concom was looking to put forward, or was this something different? Because this says like, if you read through it, it has like the boundaries and setbacks by reducing the size of the prime wetlands buffers as detailed below. So this is reducing.
Right.
Now, what Concom's meeting on tomorrow night, would that be a different article they're gonna put in front of us? Or we don't know?
No, it won't be a different one.
So it would be this one here, but things would change in it?
Yes, well, yes. So one thing could change. Concom would not be in favor of reducing the buffers, in which case this table would go away, and the article would be reduced to, shall the town vote to designate certain wetlands, refer to as prime wetlands, blah, blah, blah. And that's what the town would vote on.
We shouldn't really be voting on this period now, because everything is not straight. It's not straightened out. We haven't even had the meeting yet, till tomorrow night. So
All right, we could try to dissect this, or we could simply just decide whether or not we want to bring this forward to the public hearing. Someone want to make a motion to bring this forward to the public hearing?
The only problem is if you say you're gonna bring it forward to the public hearing, and it's all gonna change.
Yeah.
You know what I guess that's my sticking point. If the table was accurate, then I'd know exactly what I'm bringing forward to the public hearing.
Well,
it's not accurate.
and for those reasons,
No.
and what do they say on Shark Tank? For that reason, I'm out.
Yeah, that's the only problem. Because I see reducing the size, I just can't get past that thing that says reducing the size of the prime wetland buffers. And I know the
I wanna
public
see it
hearing was, we were increasing it.
Whether I understood this, or even if I understood this, I was going to vote no. The fact that I don't understand it solidifies my no, because I want to feel comfortable
It's not
with what I
clear.
bring forth and recommend. And neither of these situations make me feel comfortable.
But Tim, what are your feelings? Because you're on Concom, I just like to get your feeling on it.
Well, having worked on this for 4 years,
I know.
I know.
I know that, I know there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears you've put into
I'd
it.
like an up or down vote at the town meeting. No, we don't, I mean, we could,
What are the changes that are going to be coming?
we already, in the existing ordinance, right now, in this table, for prime wetlands, it has these values, 100, 125, 125.
Okay.
A potential proposal would be to reduce those to 50, 100, 100, but I don't know, Concom hasn't weighed in. I don't know if they are
That's what I want.
amenable to that or not.
So this could be beneficial to abutters of prime wetlands, but at the same token, we've increased the scope of what's designated a prime wetland, so it affects more people than it used to.
So, I mean, one option for the planning board would be to nix this change to the reducing of the buffers. The existing ordinance stands, and then what the town would be voting on is the language that's in the furthermore.
So just a question, if we weren't reducing or had this table where you were reducing or proposing a reduction in buffers, would it be before the planning board, or would it go through the other methods that were originally being contemplated? Is it planning board because buffers are being reduced, or?
Because it'd be written in our zoning?
Right, because we're changing some part of our zoning ordinance, which is up to the planning board.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good time to jump in. Yeah, go ahead.
So is there a proposed change to the warrant article that was proposed at the public hearing?
I think that's what you were kind of asking, Bill, right?
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
And if there is, if I may, if you're changing the scope, wouldn't that change the abutters and the affected and abutters, and wouldn't they have to be notified before you can actually bring it to anything else? Wouldn't they have to, if you're changing who it affects and it affects more people, wouldn't they have to have another informational meeting before you can even push it through.
Would affect.
Are we
less-
covered?
Notification is for those affected under 100 people. If a zoning amendment affects under 100 people, then you need to send out notification, not 400.
So the change will affect under 100 people, so you won't have to notify.
No, it's the other way. If it's under 100,
Other way around.
they do a mailing notification. If it's over 100, then it's through this public method, this public notification method, which is 2 postings, a public meeting,
And going on the warrant.
per what we need to do for our I know that applies to us. Does it apply to other counties?
I already had issued notification. So we had to have a meeting, and then it was postponed another 30 days, and they already knew. And there was people that were impacted that didn't know there was a meeting, but was it legal? Yes. Is it correct to your town vote? No. I feel like this falls into that same category. If you're changing the scope, there's going to be people that are completely unaware that they're affected.
So let me ask you this, Tim. I feel like I'm in first grade, right? Like on this topic, and versus some people who are graduating college with it. So has this changed from, to Bill's point, from what was presented to the public by Concom to where it is in front of us now? Has any of the scope and language and values changed?
At the Concom public hearing, there was a description of what the prime wetlands are, what their functions were, et cetera, et cetera. There was no mention of changing the zoning ordinance buffer size.
Oh, okay.
That was in place already. A lot of people were, as Ryan pointed out, not happy. So again, I don't know what the feeling of the Conservation Commission is, but proposal might be to reduce the buffers, which would have less impact. And fewer people would be impacted because if someone was in the 125-foot buffer, say at 110 feet, and you reduce it to 100, then they would be outside the buffer entirely. So they wouldn't be impacted at all.
So it could be a positive change.
So this is actually if you had owned property, right? It says the existing buffer is 100. If it changes to 50, if I'm a property owner, that's actually a gain of 50. Am I reading that correctly?
Yes, but
I'm just saying, I'm trying to wrap,
yeah.
I get, the more I talk, the more confused I'm
I
getting.
know, right? So the table, yes, yeah, you are making it, you're giving more when reducing the buffer.
Right.
But it's not quite the table that's our issue, it's everything else in this. So furthermore, shall the town vote to designate certain wetlands referred to as prime wetlands within its borders as being worthy of extra protection because of their size, uniqueness, fragility, unspoiled character, or other relevant factors that make them of substantial significance. While currently we are only classifying prime wetlands as wetlands over 2 acres. So with this change, it would affect a lot more people.
Can I just jump in? I'm just going to kind of assert, it's 9:15.
Yeah.
We're trying to get to the point where we're going through the same motion as the other zoning amendments, and we're going to vote whether or not we're going to bring them to the public meeting. I'm not sure we have enough information. We're still a little confused whether we can even vote on that part.
I don't think
Can I do an unofficial vote to even ask this board whether we are comfortable committing to this being a zoning amendment that we vote on to bring to public hearing?
Yeah, or if you make an official vote.
Yeah, I mean, I'll put that out there. I'll make a motion to ask the board to vote whether we're comfortable with having the planning board.
Well, it would still need to be a motion in the affirmative to move zoning amendment.
Yeah, all motions have to be in the affirmative.
Yeah. I make a
No matter what
motion
it
to
is.
bring
But
amendment Z24-05 to 06 to the planning board for consideration of, for vote to
And then
bring
you see
forward
all
to the public
those In
meeting.
favor.
Say that again?
And then you just would do it like normal. So all those in favor, say aye. You hear
Charlene, was
no
that good enough? I think I kind of mumbled at the end.
one. So Tom
It's all over the place.
Tom
I know.
Alberti makes a motion. Do I have a second?
Yeah, what's the motion, please? Because it was all over the place.
I'm making a motion that for the board to consider bringing Z24-06 forward to be considered for a vote
The sense of the
For a
board.
public hearing
for
on
a public
January
hearing
3rd.
on January 3rd, 2024.
Yeah.
Is there a second on that motion?
I'll second it.
Yeah.
Richard seconds it.
Right. I got you back.
Any discussion on the motion?
I guess the question would be, after Concom meets tomorrow, would they still have, if they wanted to present another one, would you present another one? Was there time for it?
Yeah, could they do it?
Because I think with the way it is right now, looking at this, I'm just confused. I'll admit it. Maybe it's me. I don't know.
No, I'm the same way.
If the Conservation Commission talks about this tomorrow and we hear it again on the 3rd, then we could have a special meeting.
Before the public.
We could vote on the 3rd to bring this to a public hearing and have a special meeting, public hearing, just based off this. And it would just need to be before January 15th.
I'm still in the same boat that I should have been talking about this 6 months ago. So,
Finish the vote.
another week, but yeah, all right. That was seconded by Richard.
Yeah, but I just wanted to make sure Concom knows, Tim, you can go back to them.
Yeah, when you
tell
tell
them.
them.
You still the avenue if they wanted to bring it back.
True,
right?
I don't disagree. 'Cause
Maybe,
I'm just one voter on this board, so.
no, I know that. My thing is, I just want to fully understand something. That's just where I come from. But I understand fully where you're coming from, and I'm of the same mindset. I'm just confused.
Yeah. No, I know. It's, all right, all in favor?
In favor now for what?
Opposed? Aye, right?
Yeah, opposed, aye.
Aye, I'm opposed to it.
Remember, we have to say it in the affirmative.
Yeah.
So you either,
Yeah.
Aye.
no, you're aye on the opposed, right?
Right.
Sure. Motion passes 005 to not bring this to a vote to be added to the public hearing for January 3rd.
And what to do, Tim? Tell
So
Concom
basically,
they
we're,
can-
But tell Comcom why.
we're saying this is
The cleaner
withdrawn.
one, it's just we're confused. Well, I'll speak for myself. I'm confused.
I'm confused too about it.
I'm confused.
The numbers.
And I,
It just
didn't
to say, I'm sympathetic to the whole the prime wetland argument, and it's something that Plastow should have had for some time. I guess if it's going to be in front of us, I'd want to be more informed about the granularity of it,
Yeah.
and/or have somebody here that can speak directly to it. It almost sounds like there should have been a joint session of the
With the
Conservation Commission and
Yes.
the Planning Board. That's way,
Yes, exactly.
yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you. It's not about the prime wetlands. I think we should support our resources within fairness, right, to the humans that occupy the land, right? It's not just about, one way or the other, but
I have other questions. I mean,
but yeah,
some-
I have a
what
ton of
remedy does
questions. I don't know
somebody-
enough about it.
Somebody has something that's designated in prime wetlands. I mean, then, is it open, are they open to receiving an abatement
Right.
for that portion of the property that they can't use? I know I have wetlands.
There would be
Because it-
something. That was discussed.
I mean, I have wetlands on my
going for it.
property, and I have an abatement associated to that. But, if someone's all of a sudden going to have a large portion of their property that they can't, let's say, build on,
to build you'd have to go to the ZBA.
yeah, I mean, so,
Yeah, you have to go.
but then again, so is are they getting an abatement? Are they going to have to go to the zoning
I
board?
want to say one. unless anything changes, right, somehow, because to your point, Concom can meet, somehow there could be a vote to bring a special meeting, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, and maybe some clarity, because I think if I understood the warrant better, that,
Yeah.
you don't know, right?
Short of that,
Just don't
I
know.
would just say, again, we talked about the three things that were important to carry over to 2024 and be a priority. I think this should be a high probably the number one priority to get it right, because I think we should protect wetlands and we should protect the landowners that are around those wetlands and
Tim, the study
find
that
the right
was,
thing.
that was done, right, by, was it Mark Wessler, was that his name? How long is that study good for?
There's no,
No time.
there's
limit.
nothing in the study that, there's nothing in the study that would expire. I mean, if you started over, say, 20 years down the road,
Yeah,
the wetlands boundaries probably 20 years down the road would change a little bit. I mean,
but
things
I'm talking
change.
like, near term.
But, I mean, it's not, some studies will be based on, say, estimated population increase. And then, 5 or 10 years down the road, those estimates aren't valid anymore. So there's, the study itself has pictures of the wetlands, the type of vegetation there.
From a year from now, that study would not have to be redone.
No.
Study is.
Yeah, and to your point,
Study is
Tammy,
there.
I know you put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in it.
You have. Lot
And
of
I
years.
don't think it. I think I was just falling back on. I just didn't know enough about sponsoring something, so to speak, or giving my I guess maybe the word is sponsor as a board. So, but it sounds like we should, and we should try to get it right. Unfortunately, 4 years becomes 5, and that's.
Right, but I'd like to hear what the Concom says after tomorrow night,
Me
too.
too.
So Charlene, just so you have this procedurally correct, right? We put a motion to vote to bring forth C-24-06 forward to the vote to bring it to a public meeting. We all voted 005 against bringing the vote. So bring it to the vote. So it's not at current going to be added to the public meeting for.
I think to be correct, if that's the intent, somebody should make a motion to not post
Okay.
to the public hearing.
Well, we just voted to not bring it to the vote.
Well, that was to a vote.
That's a vote.
So to say we're not going to bring it to the public hearing, the way, it probably as it's written, right?
Okay, there you go. I get it. So
I'll make a motion not to bring the proposed zoning amendment Z-24-05,
06.
06, to the public hearing on 1/3/2024.
I'll second.
Bill makes a motion, Chuck seconds. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. All right, so board votes not to bring Z-24-06 to the public hearing on January 3rd. All right, with that, if you have any other questions or comments, please make it brief, because we're going to go on to the next topic and get through try to get home before 9:30 is our cutoff. We're close.
9 o'clock was.
9:30 is like the nuclear date, the time frame.
It's okay. We just got 2 more to get through.
All right, Z-24-07, are you in favor of amendment number 7? As proposed by the Plastow Planning Board to Plastow zoning ordinances, Article 5, establish district and district regulations, table 330-32M, comma C3, commercial 3, by deleting vehicular brokerage office as permitted in the use in the district. This sounds like a little bit of a cleanup and clarification, right? Someone want to make a motion to bring this to the public vote?
I'll make a motion to bring Plastow zoning amendment Z-24-07 to the public hearing on 1/3/2024.
I have a second.
I'll second it.
Bill motions, Chuck seconds. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained? Motion passes 500. And Z24-08, are you in favor of amendment number 8 as proposed by the Plastow Planning Board of the Plastow zoning ordinance to modify Article 3, general provisions, Section 220-2.1, site plan applicability as follows? Replace 220-2.1 paragraph to read, any commercial, industrial change of use and multifamily, parentheses, 3 or more units, residential uses, regardless of the zoning district they're located in, are required to include a site plan in the application that conforms to the Plastow ordinance and all site plan review and subdivision regulations.
No.
Is this changed at all?
Yep, so we were talking about changing this one. It's just a last minute addition. It's the site plan applicability one, where right now it says multifamily districts.
Okay, yeah.
And we don't have any.
No.
Any commercial, industrial
So-
change of use and multifamily residential uses, regardless of zoning district they're located in, are required to include a site plan. A site plan in the application that conforms to Plaza's ordinance. Okay, so,
Who proposed this one?
well, I think it's in the
We've been
spirit of what
talking
we've
about
been
it for a
discussing.
while.
Yeah. It's in the spirit of what we've been discussing with just a little bit cleaner definition.
It means the same thing as it did before, but we don't have multifamily districts, which are mentioned in the current zoning ordinance.
So we already require it in commercial.
Yep.
We already require it in industrial.
Mhm.
We already require it in change of use, but we had a little bit of gray area there, right?
So now it's included, multifamily 3 or more units.
It was all included before, it was just worded weird.
And also multifamily 3 or more units. I guess what we don't have in here is PRD, and I know that's its own thing, but do we need to include it here?
Nope. And this has been reviewed
By,
by your attorney.
yeah.
Clear it, of course.
I just want to
I
make
don't
sure
care
that
if
we
it is.
can review it or absorb it.
I'm not voting
You
for this
know,
one.
does anybody, because we haven't discussed this exact wording, I just want to make sure we all absorb it and address anything we have.
Well, I mean, you are right there. Our PRD says we need a site plan. And so does our elderly housing. Both of those require site plans.
Should they be in this definition? Or is it encapsulated in the multifamily 3 or more units?
Who's decided on the multifamily, the definition for that? Because we don't have it. So why is it in here then at all? 3 or more units. Who decided that?
That's how it always is.
But we don't have multifamily.
You have multifamily homes, you don't have a multifamily district. So if someone wants to build a home that has 3 or more units, then they
Yep.
are required to do a site plan review.
So we kind of got rid of the word district and just defined it by the fact that
Right. We got rid of it.
3 or more use.
Yeah.
Okay. That's better than just saying multifamily district, which we don't have.
Yes.
To your point,
It cleans it up.
what we do have is multifamily uses
Yeah.
or properties. Do we need to, in the spirit of being clean, I've said in the spirit of a lot tonight, huh? Should be drinking some spirits. But should we have elderly housing and PRD in this definition, or are they already covered?
Typically, they're not included in site plan applicability because that's more so within subdivision regulations that sometimes have different requirements than site plan review. I haven't memorized the exact checklist for both site plan and all the different subdivisions, but there might be something on there that doesn't apply to just straight up site plan review. but that it applies to the subdivision regulations and how it's specifically listed in there.
Where does that?
That kind of makes sense to you, Tim, too? Like,
Well, I mean, both of those, 22048 is the PRD. In one of the paragraphs in that section, calls out that you need a site plan. In 220-51 is the elderly housing. Again, it specifically calls out you need a site plan. So the thing that you don't want to be caught in is having conflicting.
yeah, because this almost says you don't need site plans for those because we didn't specify it here until you go there and say, oh, wait, this does say I need a site plan. You either you're consistent or you can seem in conflict, maybe? Is that what you're getting at, Tim?
Yeah.
Is there a way to cover those? Do we add?
What about bee houses and goat?
Is that a commercial, industrial, change of use, or a multifamily?
Coming out of you. What's that?
I'm responding to Karen.
Well, agriculture is a permitted use in a residential area, right?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
not commercial, industrial, change of use, or multifamily.
Okay, so how are we defining multifamily then? I mean, just so that we're
That's
clear,
what I keep.
3 more units, but what does it mean to say that a particular residence is a multifamily or 3 more, it requires a site plan?
Wouldn't
do you mean?
these homes across the street?
You have a large home over there, it's really big, all right? And then somebody says that they're gonna put 3 units in it with 3 points of whatever, and they're gonna rent it out to, create a rental property.
Yep.
I mean, is that the definition of a multifamily then?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, for a good example would be where the front entrance is right there. Yeah, these places are right across the street, right?
Yeah, they're
They're
all
like-
they're all three families.
Yeah. Those would be subject to site plan review.
If they wanted to do changes after we make this amendment.
Yeah.
That's change of use.
Do we need to include elderly and PRD? Because technically they need site plan review.
I don't think so.
Well, or could we cover that, or other specified uses that require site plan review or something like that? Or other specified,
So if you had a multifamily that already existed, but you didn't propose any changes to it, then it wouldn't trigger a site plan review. So it's only when after this goes into effect and you decide that you're gonna do something, that it's gonna trigger a site.
you carve up, you want to put your house and make it 3 rental units, yeah, then boom. You need it.
Let's say it already is multifamily, but it doesn't, or in some fashion, it doesn't have a site plan. All right. It would only trigger a site plan review if there's some sort of proposed change that's being done to it, correct? Okay.
Tim, is there a way to incorporate elderly and PRD into this, even if it's language like, or other uses that also requires it? I don't know.
Broad, very broad.
Is this something, well, we have to vote, we can't vote on something for the public meeting that still needs to be edited, correct?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
We can't vote to bring something forward to the public meeting that we were saying, hey, give it some thought and change it.
Yeah.
We need to actually vote on the actual language as written.
Yes. Unless you want to have a special meeting.
Yeah.
No,
Well, we
not for
already
that.
And that's
have
kind
to
of
have a
why the
special
last one, we voted the way we did, because we didn't understand that there probably was gonna have to be changes to it.
Right, so we're gonna have a special meeting on that one.
You can make changes during the public hearing.
Well,
Yeah, because then we'll have to, we have to,
Because then you got to revote, and then you can revote.
yeah.
Jen Rowden and Larkin Rogers all think that it's sufficient.
Do they, I would love to put forth, what about fact that PRD and elderly also require site plans, but we get it. We understand. We see it that way, but I don't know. Just want to be clean.
Right.
How we ended up in this situation in the first place.
I had some examples of other towns' site plan regulations.
I guess I'm pretty comfortable with this as long as we're not concerned that PRD and elderly are affected or could have a negative impact by accident.
Because they have their own rules.
Yep. But so does commercial, so does industrial, so does change.
Farm and
They all have their
agriculture would
own
be too.
rules,
They have
right?
Their own too.
Technically.
Right?
Their site plan, no. You can just request different waivers if they want. But subdivision regulations are different.
Just want to make sure.
Okay. All right, well, let's put it to a vote. I would, if we vote in to favor to bring it to the town meeting, I would ask that you run by the question of elderly housing and PRD and see if they should or should not be or need to or don't need to be included in the definition.
By the attorney.
And if there's a slight tweak to it, we can address that at the public meeting and move forward with the new language.
So
Does that
you're
make sense?
saying that you can vote on this to have a public hearing and then change the language between then and now?
That would have to be changed at the public hearing.
Yeah, I mean, you can do minor changes. I would recommend, I mean, doing big changes, but, I mean, that's what it's there for. Or someone in the public might
Right.
raise a point and say, gee, what about PRDs? And you say, oh, yeah, we left that out, so
wait.
we'll add it in.
Wait. One second.
I'll let her go first, unless you need a second. All right, go ahead while she's looking.
When you put it towards the public hearing, does that fall under almost like the structure of deliberative? Is that almost the same? Only is, I guess my question is, when you have a public hearing, is it only on that one article? It's amendable by the public, if people will be voting on it, or is it voted on by the board at the public hearing?
We read the amendment that we're getting ready to put on the ballot. The public gets to provide input to that. We then could potentially tweak it. Then when we're done with the back and forth, we vote whether or not we want to put it forth as written to the ballot, whether we recommend it, and that's where you get the planning board recommends or doesn't recommend.
Amendments cannot come from the public. They will be put forward by the board, correct?
These amendments are from us. There are citizen petition amendments. There's a pathway for that, but that time frame to get those submitted has passed.
So at the public hearing, if you want to bring this warrant up, and we're discussing at the hearing, if there's an amendment, say if I wanted to amend it, I couldn't do it before the amendment would have to come from the plan.
No, if we say we only will allow blue and orange houses here.
Right.
That's going to be our amendment that we want people to vote on, right? You say, how about purple? We might say, yeah, let's add purple to it. We might change that at the public meeting.
It's not like, I know what you're saying, a deliberative. Well, you can
Not
come
like
up
the
and say, I
deliberative.
want to make this change, right?
Not like the deliberative.
No, we get your input, and to Tim's point, someone might say something that we're like, oh yeah, that's a really valid thing.
I assume the answer was no, I just want clarification.
Right. Yeah, it's not like
Yeah.
deliberative, there's nobody going to be checking at the door, right? If you're registered to vote and you get the card and all that. There's none of that.
I know there was talk about amendments, I just want clarification.
Sure.
Currently, so this is only part B of site plan applicability. Part C says any application for a change of use or any application submitted as a PRD or as an affordable housing for older persons district must include a site plan in the application, blah, 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 blah.
So it's already in there.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
already
so
in
we
So
kind of
we were
missed
just talking about B.
the missing link, right? So you're saying it already
It is
has
in
it
there.
in section C. We were kind of, all right, well, that's better. Thank you for the clarification.
All right, so we're
All right.
good. So I'll make a motion to bring forward zoning amendment Z-24-08 to the public hearing on 1/3/2024.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Chuck seconds. Bill motions. Chuck seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstained?
Feels weird saying 2024.
Motion passes 500.
Can't wait. Changes.
All right, so we're just going to quickly get through this. So that piece is done. I don't know of any old business. Did anybody see anything on any of our? Oh,
We're becoming old business pretty soon.
in the crap, huh? Seriously. There is there's an 8-page citizens petition.
Oh, yeah.
It seems like everything was done appropriately, so it's in a nutshell around agritourism, so I guess I won't. So this will come, because obviously this isn't ours. We don't own this, so
It's a citizen's position.
yep, this will get brought to the public hearing. Is that correct?
Yes.
So on January 3rd, this will come to us and we will vote whether we would recommend it or not.
Yeah.
It goes no matter what we recommend, correct?
And the other one, they're still determining where it goes.
That's correct.
I think I know where it's going to end up. I don't think it'll be here.
This one
It'll end up with us.
changing ZBA to elected versus appointed.
Yes, right. What do you mean you don't know where it's going?
We don't know if it will come to our public hearing.
Yeah, who's public, who?
Will it
Whether it's
come as
gonna
a,
be the planning board or the selectmen.
yeah.
I don't
It'll,
understand why that doesn't come to us as well.
is it a planning board?
Well, we work
Public
with the
hearing?
ZBA, yes. The ZBA tells us what's going to be a variance or whatever, and then it comes back to the planning board.
They don't tell us.
Well,
It's
town
not-
council's looking at it, so that's where the decision's
Yeah.
gonna come from. Where it goes.
It does,
You know,
it's
it
going to be,
can't always go to the selectmen every damn time. I don't think that's right, and I'm going to say it right now.
okay. We
Okay.
don't appoint the Z, I don't know whether we have any
I have the
jurisdiction over the
RSA, if
ZBA.
you're interested.
Yeah, be curious.
RSA 673-3 Zoning Board of Adjustment and Building Code Board of Appeals. 3-A, a local legislative body's decision to change from an elected to an appointed zoning board of adjustment or from an appointed to an elected zoning board of adjustment may be made without amending the zoning ordinance. In a town operating under the town meeting form of government, the decision may be made at an annual or special town meeting. If the town has adopted the official ballot for the election of town officers, the question may be, but is not required to be, placed on the official ballot. If the question is not placed on the official ballot, the question shall be placed in the warrant and shall be voted on as a separate article at the town meeting.
So it is. It's done by the town.
That's
That's where
Right.
that.
still a little confusing though, isn't that?
Basically,
Very
what it is,
weird.
they're trying to decide who's gonna hold the public hearing
Yeah.
on this. Is the planning board gonna hold the public hearing on
Do we
this?
discuss whether?
Or is the
this-
selectmen gonna hold the public hearing and then it goes to a vote?
It's still going to a vote.
It's going to a vote, it's just,
Question of,
is it who holds
our
the public
hearing
hearing?
or is it
Right.
their public hearing?
Okay, well, whoever presented that, I hope they were told that it goes to the selectmen possibly, or the planning board, because I think they thought it was going to the planning board.
I'm sure they're aware.
And I think that staff thought it was going to the planning board too, but then I threw a wrench in it and I sent them this RSA, so it was my fault. Because I was also very confused.
No, regardless, I get it either way.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a weird one, right? Well, how it's a land use thing, but is Is it
It's
a,
really not up to us to decide whether the ZBA is appointed. or
yeah,
Right.
it's
It's
exactly.
not up to anybody. It's up to the town to vote.
The town will
They're just
vote.
trying to figure out,
but
they're just
yeah.
trying to figure out what's the best.
Somebody has
the
to have a
proper
public,
avenue.
there has to be a public hearing
Yeah.
on it.
What's the proper
And is the
public hearing?
public hearing going to be held by the planning board or the board of selectmen? And after it gets past the public hearing, yes, it goes to the town to vote on it.
Okay, so why is the other petition definitely with us?
Because it's a change in zoning.
It's a zoning. But that also will go to the town to vote on, Karen.
I know, I just want to make sure that it goes to the town.
It
will be going to the town. It's just, the public hearing should be held by the planning board because it's a zoning issue, which is separate from the selectmen.
So the selectmen could end up saying, no, 5 no.
To what?
Well,
To the
again,
petition.
they're just recommending.
That's only a recommendation, but.
It's only a recommendation.
No matter how the vote goes, it's going to a vote.
But-
No matter how it's voted, it's going to a vote.
But gentleman here said it. We all know it.
You look at the who the votes
People look at
are.
the votes and
That's
just
what
go with
make
it.
or-
So,
Yep.
all right. Anything else? Any old business, any new business? What do we got coming up? So basically January 3rd is the public hearing.
Mhm.
And that's that. Got it.
Where's the public hearing right now?
I'll just say this. Thanks, everyone. We are just a bunch of volunteers. We do have the best interests in town. Not everybody's going to approve of what we do. I get it. Same way when I coach youth kids, some parents are happy and some parents aren't. I mean, it's some kids are and some kids aren't. And it's the same way in my household. So either way, I think.
You're never right now.
I know. Either way, I think, but I appreciate everybody's efforts. We all do give up a lot of our own personal time to try to do what we think is best for the future of the town. So I hope everybody has a safe and happy and healthy holidays. And thank you for everybody's efforts. And we'll see you in a couple weeks after Christmas and New Year's.
Too.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. All right. Good night, everyone. And that ends the meeting. 9:47.
Goodness.